be better quality.
It seems crazy that it's so long, though.
And it allows us to bleep out the swear words.
Right.
That's right.
My favorite line from a very good movie.
Which movie?
The Exorcist.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Airplane.
Do you know what she did, your cunting daughter?
Wait, I gotta put this one down.
Oh no.
I'm gonna do it. I'm doing it even though that's a faux pas.
What happened? Oh,
Because it's like frosting and not
You know,
like
good.
Oh, is it? It's not an actual cream.
Yeah, I
thing?
ain't gonna eat
Oh,
that.
I'm
I
sorry.
can't eat that. No, it's cool. Someone will eat it, just not me.
Boston versus Bavarian cream.
What's in that one? A jelly?
That one looks to be like some sort of raspberry
I'm not a fan
goo.
of the
Raspberry
custard personally,
goo.
but I also
Wrong!
don't really, I don't personally like eating a donut full of Bavarian
Goo.
cream either. So
Eclair, I would make an exception.
yeah, I can get down with an eclair.
Yeah. Or maybe Napoleon.
Do we have something that says Charmingtons on it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, our sponsor. Thank you to our
Wolfpack.
sponsor, Charmington's
Yeah.
Charm.
Welcome to the show!
All right.
The judge.
If you're nice to them, they'll let you take one of these with you.
If you're ever in the Remington area,
Yeah.
get a coffee at Charmington's.
We aren't saying the wall art is good. But we are saying the coffee.
The
is good.
coffee's decent.
I am saying I don't like the quality of their bread.
Wow.
Holy shit.
So yeah, if you go and you get
Say
a
goodbye to
sandwich,
this
get it on a
sponsorship.
bagel.
But
But sorry.
on the contrary, they make all of their muffins, scones, cookies, those kinds of things in house, and they're very good.
They are
Yeah.
very good.
Best scones in town, I think, actually.
But their bread is like
They offer
Fisher-Price my
vegan options.
spun out of
Yeah.
plastic. I hate it.
The staff there is helpful.
Anyway, go to Charmington's.
And remember to like and subscribe for notifications from our show.
Yeah. Click the bell.
Click the bell.
Yeah.
So when we
Be sitting.
last
I don't
left
know.
off,
they're-
A lot of cushion
You
there.
don't have to have them.
In
If
coffee?
You don't want them.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it feels decadent.
I feel like we were on high paths when we were sort of towards the end.
Chapter
I thought we got right to
27.
natrium.
Nature.
If that's how you pronounce that.
We definitely didn't start talking
I
about the
don't know,
Hetman.
actually.
We didn't get to
We
the
all
Hetman.
the dragon. Okay.
I think we may have.
We did not get
We
the
talked
Hetman
about the
sound.
Hetman a little bit.
We might have talked about it, but we didn't go.
We didn't get
Well,
that
either
far.
way, Tim obviously feels like we have unfinished business, so we have to go back anyway.
I just feel like
On high
starting
paths.
with on high paths.
Yeah, totally.
Might be really nice.
I mean, it's a very like thinky Severian chapter.
Very exciting personal news.
It's all
I'm
about how
beginning to
symbols are
understand
real.
Roman numerals.
Oh,
So,
great.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah.
Symbols?
Symbol.
Did you used to have contempt for them?
I know.
No, I
it's
just-
confusing me.
I just have to label the chapters because I don't get it. But I'm thinking.
I know. I'm just wondering what.
I'm happy to explain it to you after book club if you want.
Okay.
It's
But I
easy.
think
It's fairly
I think
straightforward.
I'm yes.
I'm just saying,
Thank you.
if you would like.
Thank you.
I will happily make you a little.
I always
chart.
get confused with the C's and the L's. That's like once you
Yeah.
get up.
100.
Forget it.
Yeah, once you get up in it
$100.
Yeah,
for a
L's
C is
50, C is 100.
right,
L's 50.
but I what's
A
an
C
M?
note.
And an M is 1,000.
M's 1,000.
Okay.
D's 500.
I don't think we have that many chapters.
Oh, I didn't know.
I'm never gonna
write
remember.
MDCL.
Yeah, there you go. All right, I'm good. I'll never be confused again.
MD like Maryland.
Okay. Yeah, I
They
never.
go in that order.
Because I'm from Alabama, I never had that in mind.
I'm not from Maryland either.
Well, you probably.
Where
I'm,
are you
I'm,
from?
help, I'm
Yeah,
trying
where
to
are you
help
from,
you
please?
now.
Yeah, now I have the Maryland secret.
I just
Nobody gave it to
I
me
just
when I moved
made
here.
that up for you now.
I
Where
appreciate
did
If
it.
you write a line over them,
GA, they're not in there at all.
GA.
Oh wow.
Whoa.
Georgia.
So we have Georgia and Alabama in this.
Hell
club.
yeah! Also, my mom's my entire
basically
family
a
is from
southern-
where Mark is from.
2 people are from New York.
Pennsylvania.
Vermont.
Holy shit.
I didn't know you were from
My
Vermont.
God.
That's really cool.
Wow, we
I
have
knew
like
that.
the
We
whole
got the
fucking East
Eastern,
Coast.
yeah, we got the
Maryland.
Eastern Seaboard pretty nailed down.
And a little bit of golf.
Good for us.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, Okay.
Alright!
Oh,
27.
I did see a convertible on the way here
Go on.
with a woman driving it, and the
Are you sure it wasn't Twig?
A
Are
woman
you sure?
driving.
Are you sure it wasn't Twig?
no, it's important. What, to match his sunglasses and leather jacket? Did he
What?
really get a convertible?
Yes.
Okay, we have to talk about that later, but
You love,
Carly
like,
bought it. It's an
convertibles?
old Mercedes. Carly bought it for him when she sold her last house, and you have to start it with the filed down spoon.
Nice.
No, not with a key.
A filed down spoon. I'm
Yes.
into that.
anyway, as cool as that might be, it is not as cool as the convertible I saw today.
Go on.
License plate Toplez, Toplezz,
Oh,
which is why I mentioned that a woman was driving it, because,
yeah.
you know,
Top legs.
exactly.
I
That's
get it.
very funny.
It's a lot. It's a lot
Yeah,
of
you
things.
do.
Okay, I get it.
Our resident troll. Okay, let's talk about
Gene Wolfe.
Yeah, on Hind Paths, XXVII. 27.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I feel like it'd be dangerous for us to talk once again about the as above, so below. I feel like that's how we got talking about animals and
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's
All right,
A little
so
bit
we can
through.
move
So let's-
on from that.
yeah. Let's not talk about that.
You,
again.
did we?
But that was
I
a
thought
fun
we
part.
talked about Yalem already too, but
Yeah, we said the word Yalem.
But
We
we
said
didn't.
the word.
it had been
Why?
uttered.
Talk about.
Why is it here?
Why is Yalem here? It's the primordial substance from which all things are created.
So it's
Who knows
everywhere.
that? Severian, the autarch. Who is the person?
Severian knows it.
He's never mentioned that word
Yeah,
before.
this is
Does
his
he
first
mention
time
it
he's dropped
again?
It's a common word.
Is that recognized as like a metaphysical truth, or just this is a theological thing? Yalem.
It's some Greek philosopher, I forget which one, and that was his what he called the primordial substance. It's the same thing as chaos.
Right. Okay.
So I don't know. I think it's supposed to be like the foam at the beginning of time. Like I think it is supposed to be a substance,
Right.
Not just like the idea of substance.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
what you're asking me.
no, I was mean just like, do these people accept this as truth, or is it a like more like religious thing?
Oh no, the group who originally used it, I believe, accepted it as truth. I think Severian kind of can accept anything as truth at any given point,
That makes sense.
right?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. This is just the first time he's brought it up, so it's just interesting. And then, I mean, if you're saying, do you think he's referencing the same idea that philosopher you were talking about was referencing? That kind of like,
The only time that word is ever used,
Like
except
kinda
for
like-
once in a role-playing game.
yeah. Ryan actually brought that up.
Yeah.
You like said like a world called Yalem or something.
Yeah. Well, there was another facility called Chaos in it, but
Oh.
whatever.
There's like a scene here that I think is interesting, where
Want a Band-Aid?
he finds the pot of corn, and then like
Oh,
he
yeah.
feels guilty about eating it, and so
Yeah.
he like stresses out about what to leave behind. So he's like, "What should I leave for this person?" And so he's like,
Leave
"Not
that
my."
raggedy scarf.
So he's like, "Not my brown book, not my."
Not these
you
things
know,
that have
Nothing
any actual
good,
value
yeah.
to me
this like thin, like scarf or whatever. But
that he found.
why I think that's weird is that in the very next chapter, this Severian who's like all stressed out about just taking some corn that may or may not belong to someone turns into a total douche in the hetman's house and just like starts like demanding everything immediately. How is this the same character?
Oh, well, because it's like strategy thinking style.
Well,
like,
wouldn't strategic thinking just be like, cool, here's some corn, I'm gonna eat this?
well, I think also
piece.
I think it's like, you're stealing one thing you're stealing from like probably a poor working person, and the other thing you're stealing. You're not stealing. You're like demanding. You're trying to like make a power play with this like dude who is actually the one with the power in the situation.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense to me, like to like but also it
Yeah, I don't
seems-
know if that's
it
a
seems
Severian move.
inconsistent to me. Like
It's consistently douchey.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
here's
right. That's I mean that's
And
what
he
I
doesn't leave him
think.
anything. He doesn't leave him anything good.
Right.
So like, I feel like if he had been like, oh, I should leave the brown book,
Right.
or something that actually has a lot of value to me because
Yeah.
this corn had a lot of value to me.
Yeah.
Then maybe he would have like an actual, like an actual moral thing that he's doing. But this is really just him like kind of tricking himself into thinking that he's like done his due diligence and like adequately thanked this absent shepherd.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's all about action and not about the meaning. Like he did work to earn with the hetman. He comes in and he's working real hard, so anything he can get out of it, he earned.
Yeah.
With the corn thing, he just happened upon it, so he has to do something to have earned the corn.
Huh.
Even if it's basically just leaving his garbage there.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is; it's the doing that counts. Not the meaning.
I mean, he
Which
did
is something
like
that bites Severian in the
somewhat
ass.
justify the choice of the garbage.
Well,
The
they
color
found
of it would
because
hopefully-
that's the work.
well,
And also his
they
other
found
stuff.
it after the whole Apu Punchao thing, right? Like they found it in the dirt after that. So I
Right.
guess it has some sort of like weird like time traveling quality to it.
If that
but-
shepherd takes it on Antiques Roadshow, game over.
right? Yeah.
I don't know that they have that in this world.
You don't know.
I'd be
That's
willing.
what I just said.
I'd be willing to argue.
Maybe that's what the Pellerines are. Is the
Oh fuck.
I hope so. That's
Look at
amazing.
old spinning wheels and butter beaters and shit.
Except they only have this one thing that they carry around with. It's a singular. It's an antique roadshow.
That's
Yeah,
it.
just the single. But maybe they'll appraise your shit if you bring it by.
Maybe if you bring them something
just
better,
say-
they change that and make that the relic of the cult.
The brand of Emma's seltzer is called Clear American, which I find
So, like,
really
Clear-
And
strange.
it's Walmart's house brand.
Yeah.
Oh, I've
That's
never
like a
heard
market tested, like, all right, like,
Yeah.
what
Clear American?
product name it will be the
So
best for this?
absurd.
But
Water's
but y'all
clear.
are clearly
Americans will
Canadian,
be
right?
buying this.
Like in the '90s,
American.
clearly Canadian.
Yes, a
What
delicious,
is that?
a delicious
It was-
flavored water.
Yeah, it was like a flavored. I think it was sweetened also. Like,
Yeah.
it was a fancy soda basically
My
from mom's.
God.
It was sort of
I mean,
like
my mom drank it. That's why I knew.
it was like a less ukulele LaCroix.
Right. Because it had sugar in it. It probably wasn't
Less-
like any
less
better for you than just
ukulele.
like drinking it.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like ukulele and
I
bells.
never got to try it. I never saw
Foofy
Airplane.
Foofy.
There's so much
Is
I
that what it's
haven't
called?
done.
That genre of music?
What'd you call it?
Foofy kooky? Oh, I thought we were still talking about middle-aged women.
I'm talking about the vibe of LaCroix and how it has like ukulele and bells kind of sound
Oh.
in my head when I think about it.
What about when you drink it?
I don't usually.
No. Why?
I don't know. Just not.
You don't like its essence? Why
It's not that. It's not a dislike. It's just like
You just don't.
I'm just not.
You don't come across it.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
see.
At one
Anyway.
point in this bit, Severian outlines exactly my philosophy of existence and says I'm right.
Which one?
Can you pinpoint that for us?
The guy we were just.
Articulate it, please.
Yeah, you gotta.
I'm not
you can't
gonna.
just say
I'm
that.
not gonna. He's talking about like
What's he talking
it's when
about?
he's thinking about like the Severian who almost drowned and all of that.
Is that in this part?
Is it? I don't know. I just wanted to talk about the book for a second. Sorry.
Keep
I thought I'd make a
keep-
riotous
All right, I just
claim.
wanted to-
Keep talking about it so we see.
Yeah,
You know,
we'll figure
we
it
might
out.
as well be talking about water if you're not going to finish this thought.
Well, he's and destiny. It's talking about destiny. It's kind of about there must be some plan that it's in that section.
What part are you on? Where are you?
I don't remember.
Well,
There was some place in the section that I read last night.
In this part, it might be in the last paragraph here of that like one section, but it really in this part he seems to be like philosophizing about like the size of things and the relationship of that to him, and also there's that whole bit which we kind of talked about last week with the El Zabo and sort of like the nature of like the
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's where we got into all the S above so below.
I felt like it was someplace in there.
I mean, maybe while you look, Connor, I mean, one thing I found great is on 148, and this whole sort of like bit where he thinks about the size of are they Amphishans in relation to man, and that they're larger than we could even conceive, like so large that as to be like meaningless. And that's just something that I think about a lot, like, because it just makes logical sense that if bacteria exists, then we must be as bacteria to something else, and that thought must continue even further, and that
it goes
that
in
just
both
seems-
directions forever.
It just seems logical, and that in the world of bacteria, it's probably kind of like this world, in a way. I don't know, like depending on the size.
Well, it's a
We are
very-
getting real close to that conversation.
Well, it's a very like flatland kind of idea too. That's like,
Is it?
well, in some ways.
I don't know what you mean.
Well, so like the idea of flatland is like going through. I'm gonna probably butcher this because I've not read the book and only saw that play a few years ago.
Oh no!
All right, well you do it then.
What? No, I want to hear this.
Oh,
I
just
just felt
thinking about dimensionality in a way. So it's not necessarily like things are getting infinitely small as so much as that they're like dimensionally like being reduced to a single point at some point.
Yeah.
So there's like
Yeah.
there's a single point, and then there's like the 2-dimensional plane or flatland, and then there's the 3-dimensional plane that like as it kind of comes through flatland, they can only see in sort of 2-dimensional slices.
Oh right, yeah.
And
Carl
then-
Sagan did that whole bit.
Yeah, totally. And so and then like 4th dimensional beings are ones who can like experience
Drugs.
drugs.
Kind of.
Or multiple possible timelines, like they're able to.
Well, no, fourth
No.
can go
No.
between past and future.
Oh right, yeah. So
Fourth
that,
is the fourth dimension is time.
right, and
So
then
you
and
need
then the
5D. For the
5D. They're yeah. So just I mean it's sort of like whatever it's an asymptotic curve where things get more and more complex as they kind of extend dimensionally to the point where things are being able to jump between like groupings of timelines, and I don't remember all this shit.
No,
but
that absolutely makes sense. That it's not just about the size as we experience.
yeah, so it's not a
here.
it's not a purely physical or biological thing. It's also just like a fully dimensional thing.
Right.
So I think that's like even another layer,
And
on
that
top of
actually ties into like how the Cacogens, not to use such a term,
So
for them,
coarse.
but how they,
Jeez.
sorry, that
You sound like someone who didn't
is
do
what
the
I said when I
reading.
said
They're trying to help
This
us,
is
dog.
2019. Man. Come on.
I don't know what the PC term is for them now.
Yeah,
Hyrule. Okay,
We all
fine.
do. Tim.
Hyrule. Sorry, I haven't
Get
done
woke,
my...
Tim.
Hyrule. But anyway, that I feel like they kind of allude to that. They're like, oh, we're on a totally different like plane. Like when they talk about their like the timeline of their life, and they're like only alive for like our 7 or 8 of our years, but maybe we can
like
talk
dogs.
Yeah,
Oh.
right. How
But they're
Baldaeus
traveling
says.
backwards through time, like Merlin.
Right. That they also seem to be living much longer or experiencing time in like a different way than humans do. So, which I think would have I had that thought when I was reading it that they were kind of living in a different.
Him
dimension.
talking about them only living 7 years though, that's like a relativity thing, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're coming across space, so
Right,
it's like-
they're like living because they say that the years are aeons to them because I
Yeah.
think they're traveling so far. So or what Severian says like what the years must be like seconds to you or wait no that's not even
Or
right.
is it the other way around?
Yeah, the other way around. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
But it's not
Or
like
ages
their
or
experience
something.
is 7 of our years of life. It's like
Right.
our interactions with them
There's 7.
could possibly take place in 7 of our years.
There's no
Okay.
objective time.
Very true.
Yeah.
We
Right.
can all agree about that.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
You never know.
We might have to start screaming.
Well, I'm sure that we'll start screaming at some point.
But that's very important.
Like that. I need more coffee for that.
I need more coffee, period.
Well, we have a lot of coffee brought to you by Charmington.
Charmingtons. Get a kale wrap.
Don't eat the bread.
Charming.
Everything else is pretty good.
Should we move on? I mean, there's a lot. Like, I feel like we could, like, just go on and on, but...
Yeah, do we want to... Oh, I do want to go back to No, I don't.
Did you find that thing you were thinking about?
I didn't.
We'll come across it. We'll come across it.
All right, so we'll get to the headman then.
Okay. What? Yeah.
Oh, does anyone know what the blue hall is? Is that just like a passing reference?
Oh wait, of the strings in the blue hall.
Yeah, I just
where
want
the
to.
first cantilena began.
I thought it was just a concert call.
I mean, I just thought it was a curious, like, it's not in there.
Not at all.
Mm-mm.
Not even if
I
I'm
just thought it was
clever
a
about
curious, like, reference that, I don't know.
It's Club Silencio.
A noise I sometimes
No,
used to listen to
I
when I lay
love
on my pallet near the open port of the apprentice's dormitory. So the Blue Hall was maybe in the Citadel.
Yeah.
Oh, I
mean,
thought
it's
it
not-
sounds like
yeah.
a place in the House Absolute to me.
But he was saying that he lay on
house
his
station.
pallet near the open port of the apprentice's dormitory.
Because it's the fun part where the two personalities are merging.
Okay.
He's having a Thekla
So-
memory, but then applying it to Severian's life.
Okay.
He doesn't realize that he's having a Thekla memory.
All right.
That's what I think.
I mean, that probably makes more sense than
Yeah.
there being an
Yeah.
unnamed hall that we never heard of.
That they have orchestral performances
Right.
in the Metachin Tower.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
They might.
Yeah,
I feel
who
like we
knows?
would have heard about that.
Maybe. I mean, he drops a lot of drops a lot of knowledge, or lets us in on some things that he had never been explicit about before.
It's true.
Like how often he entered Thekla when she was a prisoner. Not great.
Well, the Hetman.
Okay.
That's
Move
Thekla's
along.
idea.
The Het. I actually went and started rereading Eyes of the Overworld because of this paragraph where he's like, I've had a difficult journey, and if you will provide me with a good dinner and tolerable bed, it is not likely I will have to trouble you or your people for much else before morning.
And then he immediately asks for way more food than that.
Honey butter new bread.
This is like the funniest Severian has ever been.
Dude,
so
I
far.
so was thinking about Jack Vance so hard throughout this whole section. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's so Vance, so Dying Earthian. Like, because a lot of times in Dying Earth, like, the characters will get into these adventures and weird stuff is happening, but it's just not explained. And there's not necessarily like kind of like a puzzle, kind of like this, but just like crazy shit's happening. Like tentacles are coming out of the walls and everything. And I kind of feel like Baldander's castle is a little bit like that, or it's just like, here, this is happening, this is happening.
I was getting
this
some
thing's here.
Moorcock vibes from Baldander's castle.
Yeah,
There's like what is it? Castle in the Mist. There's an Elric story where he goes to a castle and there are these like kind of like mist creatures and like, I'll have to find out which
I
one that is
want to
again.
read those. Are those Eldritch books good?
Yeah,
You like those?
yeah. They're super weird.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, they've got like very fun like '60s
Yeah.
like early D&D vibes.
I like
Yeah,
Jason
baby.
Cornelius books better, and of course, Behold the Man is the best one.
Yeah, I mean,
Like his other
it
ones.
depends on what you're looking for, really.
Yeah.
Like he does a lot of different stuff, but he kind of tackles similar themes throughout his
Yeah.
work.
Well,
Eternal Champion.
I feel like I've heard like Severian and what's the guy's name?
Elric.
It's Elric, yeah, or maybe like comparable like heroes. Like I feel like from what I understand, like Moorcock was trying to create like a complicated hero, and like.
And he definitely is. He's like a whiny bitch in kind of the same way that Severian is. So.
He's supposed to be the anti-Conan.
Right, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, like he leaves his people because he's like disillusioned by everything and he worships chaos and he's like
He can only stay alive by drugs.
he's super goth, basically. He's like goth Conan.
His sword is black.
Yeah, and it like talks to him. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
I
I might check that out.
I mean, if you're into the vibes of this, I think it's definitely. And he and Vance were contemporaries.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of crossover between like kind of where they were coming from.
Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's what he's like in this chapter. He's like Larry David.
Go on.
Oh, when you mean when he goes into the Hetman's house?
Yeah, his whole scam that he's pulling on the Hetman is such a Larry David thing.
Asking for items that he knows they don't have, etc.
And then when the hallucination
Right.
starts,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
the dun. What's happening?
It's like womp womp womp.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, okay. So he gets his food. Pia comes in. Pia.
Yeah.
He is so creepy as usual, not surprising.
Yeah. It's like, hey, we get out of here.
I wonder if they'll have sex.
Right.
Right. And I feel like that this is consistent in that when Severian is heroic, he's heroic because he's inspired to like get laid.
By
and I
tits,
feel like
yeah.
as soon as she becomes part of the equation, then he cares about the plight of the island people and shit like that, and all of a sudden he becomes a hero leading a battle. But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's all about her. We can talk about that later.
He's still a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. I mean, it
He's
makes
so
like-
sense.
young.
It makes sense.
Teenage boys fucking suck.
Yeah, for sure.
Fuck and suck.
Connor looked offended by that.
Did I? You
Oh,
think
whoa.
my smile is me looking offended?
You're bemused? I don't know. That struck a chord with you that entertained me.
I mean, I hate teenage boys.
Who doesn't? That's what they're there for.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan anymore.
Um,
They could be a problem.
they've given us so much though.
Have they?
Probably like,
Rock and roll.
All right, that's good.
A bunch of stories about idiots.
Bill and
That's
Ted. Excellent.
Do we want to? Like,
Yeah.
what is there to talk about in this
This one is
chapter?
pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
a plot advance in this chapter.
Severian is a dick. Severian is a creep. Severian gets dosed.
And then we're on.
It's a magic.
And then we're on a boat.
Yeah.
Or not
And the
quite.
Hetman defeats him where Duckyman could not.
Right.
And where even even Typhon could, casting the same spell.
I like how he's like, oh, I'm so clever. I'm going to make you taste my food before I eat it. And then he just makes her try one part, and he just completely ignores that there's like a bunch of mushrooms on his plate.
He
And I
makes
guess
her
he-
try everything except for the mushroom salad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah.
Which just goes to show, don't disrespect the salad.
Yeah.
Give it its
agreed.
due.
Agreed.
Let the salad have
If
its
it's
time.
going in your mouth, assume it's poison.
That's right. Have your slave eat it first.
Yeah, what else is there to say about
It's just like so odd that he approaches it this way, though. Like it could have been so much more strategically advantageous to just not walk in like he owns the place, like, and just come in and be like, "Look, I'm lost. Like,
Hey, can you guys help me out?
can you help me?" Like,
Yeah.
it feels
Have
like
you
that
seen-
would have been better for him overall.
Have
Like,
you
it
seen-
still seems perplexing to me.
Have you seen the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Yeah.
It's those people that he's walking up on. You're gonna kill him immediately.
I mean,
I don't.
they're
picture him that
they're
way.
pretty cagey, especially since like they're like children and everyone were like
But if he
kidnapped.
needs to, he could still take down the whole town if he wanted to.
Clearly not.
What?
I mean, well,
How?
because they drug him.
with
but-
his sword?
I mean, they
Like if he just wanted to, like, what are they gonna do?
Call Baldanders.
Call Baldy.
The price would be too high.
Better call Baldy.
Right.
I do have questions about their relationship with Baldanders, just unclear to me. But I don't know. I just think it's interesting that Severian goes into it with that approach, like, and that also he's coming out of the mountains, right? And he's literally like starving, like, and that's why he's having all these trippy thoughts. Is that he's like he hasn't eaten for a while, and his mind is just like turned into this like philosophy machine. And then he sees this town, and he's like, ah, yes, and like walks up and just.
I'm gonna fleece
Fucking
these
just-
these
just-
roofs.
Just like that's his approach.
Well, I think that he can't walk into town expecting to kill anybody because he's not supposed to kill people unless he gets orders to.
No, I'm not saying he should kill people. I'm just saying that, like, let's say he goes in and they're hostile towards him. He could fight them, right? If
Right.
it came to that.
Right.
But the chances seem so slim that they're all going to attack him. To me,
I
like,
think you're just living in a different world. Let there be a couple more school shootings, and when you happen across a group of people, you think they'll try to kill you.
no, I know people try to kill each other, but in this particular context, like, it just seems like him walking up to this town. I don't know. But he doesn't mention that. He doesn't explain his approach.
Well, he's kind of just. I think he was drawing on his. Master
like,
Gurlos.
talks about
Yeah,
it.
he channels Gurlos for a minute,
Yeah.
which is weird because he hates Gurlos, Yeah. So, but
That's why he picks him.
right.
I don't think he has to explain it because it works. He just
Yeah.
fucks up with the mushrooms, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he had a great plan. He just got, you know, like a little
I
distracted.
mean, to a
at the
degree,
end.
I feel like he was sort of expecting throwing his weight around to just be enough, and they still.
He's
are-
done it before.
That's true.
He's done
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, like
Every inn he ever enters.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah,
like give me
yeah,
what
yeah.
you got, and they're like, "Ooh, do you really have to?" And he's like, "Yes."
Yeah.
You're scared of me, right? I'm gonna stay here until you do what I want.
Yeah, that's true. He does. in
It's
that
never
first
not
book,
worked for him.
He goes
That's
into
true.
an inn, and he's like, maybe I'll pay or something.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah.
I do think he pays when he has the money.
Right.
I think that's part of
But
it
his
too, though, is
approach
that he's
is-
like, it's kind of like his MO.
Yeah.
It's like a move he has,
Yeah.
and he also probably like partly believes it
Yeah. Right.
because he's
He
delusional.
doesn't think he's a grandmaster of
But he can like make himself think that way.
the guild. Yeah, I guess that's how you tell a lie.
He's a liar.
But you're right, though. It is like Vancian there, because that's I think
But,
what
like,
the
he
Kugel
could-
actually
yeah,
actually
like-
does this kind of shit. Right.
It's funny.
Even though he
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
think of himself as like, even though the reason he doesn't think of himself as a grand master is because he has all these like ideas of the hierarchy of the guild. But I don't find it unreasonable that he would like walk in some kind of like remote, poor village and think of himself as like
Oh, yeah.
hot shit in town.
Totally.
So
He
it's
is
not really a
Jesus.
difference to me. Like, then he just calls himself a master because it's like easier than to explain what his actual position. You know, like
Yeah, he's like, well, I was a torturer, and then I was a lictor,
yeah. So
but I
you know,
bailed
but
on
he,
that
but I
job
don't
also.
think. But I don't think he's like. I do think he still thinks that he's like probably like hot shit in town.
Yeah.
Anyway,
He kills the giant.
yeah.
He doesn't know that he's going to do that when he goes into town, though.
No, but he always does.
He always kills the giant.
I feel like in every
So to
instance.
speak.
I mean, yeah, right down to like the ultimate end of the story, he ends up killing the giant, so to speak. He achieves his quests, even when he doesn't know what they're supposed to. I mean, that if I could find that section, that's kind of where it's talking about, like the whole when you're talking about symbols and stuff.
He
He keeps saying like symbols are more real than us. You know, like you don't need to know what your destiny is to have your destiny be drawing you all the time. You don't need to understand this symbol because
Definitely talks about that in like
Yeah.
chapter 1.
yeah. So yeah, I think that he knows that he doesn't know, but he'll achieve the quest even when he doesn't know that he's on a quest at all.
Doesn't that make him sort of a Candide like figure? In some way.
More.
Well, so if he's maybe it's somewhat like like Candide is really boldly satirical. So like Candide has all these ideas that are just put into his head by Pangloss,
Right.
and so he's just like, I'm the best of all dudes, and I live, and everything's gonna work out. It's gonna be great. I don't think Severian necessarily has that. I mean, he probably thinks that a little bit, but it seems like more of a subconscious thing where nobody's putting this shit in his ear. Nobody's saying like everything is going to work out for you. You just have to roll with it.
Mm-hmm.
But that is kind of what is happening because everything's been structured for him. But that's illusory because that's not like the world that is. I don't know. So
Isn't that kind of a
he's
natural?
Severian is a fool, and that's what I'm saying. But
Yes, Severian is a fool.
but he's lucky.
this is your section.
Isn't the idea that like you have a destiny personally that pulls you forward? Isn't that a natural thing, given that you have a single perspective? And isn't it like socialization that teaches you otherwise? Like I feel like Severian's point of
I've never
view,
learned otherwise, so I'm not sure.
right, right, which I feel like is evidence for my claim here.
I don't think that you could say the feeling of destiny is like a natural thing that happens. I think we naturally are looking for meaning and maybe hoping for some kind of destiny,
And
but
I
I don't think that that's like.
yeah, why he thought
I don't think that
right
everyone is
yeah.
born with the feeling that there's a purpose that they're fulfilling as they move through life.
but perhaps
I think that is socialized.
maybe a longing for that.
Sure.
Yeah, see, I
But
think
I
the
think,
longing-
Yes,
I think
that,
even that
yeah.
longing is socialized though. Like I mean, you get that from reading like all these narratives of heroes who follow pathways that humans do not follow. Narrative structure works differently from human life structure. You can tell yourself stories about your life, but ultimately, like, you're deriving that structure from...
You can't not tell yourself stories about your life.
Exactly. Our
Sure.
minds are designed to find patterns.
Right, but that doesn't mean that the patterns are there.
Wait a minute. He talks about this too. Like, when I stop looking at Thecla, does she suddenly stop being a symbol of sexiness or whatever? You know, like, no. Meaning is meaning, and meaning is real.
Sure.
I feel like it takes like a very complicated turn of the brain that then has to be supported by like immensely powerful authorities to like keep people thinking like, nah, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean, you know, like I feel like you need to have the crushing weight of like science and institutions that tell you that you're not like the most important thing
Let's
in the
keep
world.
science out of it. I think it's just the institutions.
Sure. I mean, I feel like science is like the one of the main weapons those institutions wield currently.
Institutional science.
Yeah, but institutions kill people. Science doesn't kill people.
Right, and a lot of like sort of meaning denying people are also anti-science.
For instance,
Like the entire right wing of America.
I don't know that they're meaning denying. What do you mean meaning denying people?
I mean, I think that
Just don't understand.
I mean, sure, but
They're
like,
not nihilists.
I mean, if you're a climate change denier, wouldn't that be straight up denying meaning, like scientific evidence?
No, because they have a different narrative about climate change.
It's a different philosophy.
Yeah, they don't. They reject the idea that like it's on us. You know, that's not saying that there's no meaning to the... Like, I think a lot of them will say, yeah, that the temperature of Earth fluctuates throughout history all the time. It's just not, like, us paying for our sins that causes it.
Right.
Homosexuality is us paying for our sins. You know, they have something else.
Right. Weather is the province of God, and it's a sin to try to think that we have any effect on weather one way or the other, I believe is the crux of their argument.
Right. Yeah, it's
like, if the weather's changing, that's on God, not us.
It's so
And
weird.
it's hubris to think that we could have changed the weather, or that we can stop the weather from changing. Which, on one level, you gotta think that sounds right. If I say to you, stop it from raining,
Weather
you're
and
not going to be
climate
able to
are
do
two-
it.
Weather and climate are two different things.
Well,
Yeah,
we know that, but I'm talking about the Mayhews and why they can't think right.
Also, like...
Yeah, and we're all saying we can't relate to that line of thinking.
Oh, really? Well, you guys gotta learn some empathy.
I can understand
That's what
it
I'm saying.
intellectually, but I can't
That's what I'm
relate to
talking
it.
about.
The thing, like, once we start talking about this, though, I feel like it's impossible not to come up against, like, the alternative that we're presented to climate denial, which is this idea that, like, well, if we just get our act in gear, it'll be okay. All we gotta do is just really care, and we can flip this thing around, because that's what we do. We're fucking human beings. We fix problems.
Yeah, well, that's another oversimplification. I mean...
Yeah.
Those are the alternatives you're offered online. Like, you have to pick one of those teams, or else everyone thinks you're on one of those teams.
Yeah.
You know, like if...
I mean, I do think there's another way that is, we're probably fucked, but we're definitely fucked if we don't do anything about it.
I mean, we're definitely fucked.
Yeah.
Like,
But
there's
that doesn't mean to, like, not to change anything.
Right.
Because also, like,
we need to
because
those
also
are the
even
catamarans.
if you can't stop, even if you granted that you can't stop climate change, there's still all kinds of other shit that is fucked up by, like, not caring about the environment.
Right.
I.e., like, poor people constantly dying.
Mm-hmm. The problem...
I mean, you know, there's other reasons besides climate change to, like, ethical...
The problem is that, like, I feel like the alternatives that we're given both involve more power to the systems that brought us to this point. Like,
no, because you have to take power... you have to grant more power to an institution, but you have to take the levers of the power of the institution away from industry. I mean, it's like a shifting. It's like...
Yeah, but I mean,
Right.
it does, like, you might have... like, in best case scenario, I feel like you have one generation that like gets it and that has a big power, but like has an institution capable of destroying the environment, but uses it the right way. That's not going to last more than one generation.
Well, if you make a really good religion, it can last for a couple thousand years.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. If you make a really good religion, I feel like the chances of that happening right now are slim to none.
Working on it, Ryan.
All right. Utilize my skepticism as motivation.
All right,
There.
you're my Judas.
Put it, yes.
Oh.
That means that you have to kill Connor, whether you like
That
it or
is
not.
not-
Also means I'm the most
Symbolically
Judas is
At
the
least
most
plot
important
against it.
apostle. I'll be Judas.
Yeah, Judas is pretty dope.
He is. That's good.
I like
There you
James.
go.
I like James.
I do like
I like Jimmy. The apostle
Jimmy.
Nate
alright,
Trio.
Do
sorry.
you want to
Nate-
go to the part that's your part, Connor?
Did you
Yeah, I
find
gotta
it?
read it out
I
loud
found
so I
it.
can
Is that-
remember why I was.
I
that.
found
What page?
Connor's part. It's the beginning of Hetman's boat 157.
Very good.
Severian, the apprentice I had been, the young man who had swum beneath the bell-keep, who had once nearly drowned in the Guile, who had idled alone in the summer days in the ruined necropolis, who had handed the Chatelaine Thecla in the nadir of despair, the stolen knife was gone. Not dead. Why had he thought that every life must end in death and never in anything else? Not dead, but vanished, as a single star note vanishes, never to reappear when it becomes indistinguishable and inseparable part from of some extemporized melodies. That young Severian had hated death, and I think we've wandered out of the part that's important to me. But it was, it just made me think about how the whole thing's organized in this way, where like you start following one Severian and then he dies, so then you pick up on the Severian next door who like can build on what you learned from first Severian, and then he dies, and then Severian next door to that keeps building, and that's destiny. Like all Severian has the destiny to save the fucking world, and all the individual realizations of Severian keep dying but building towards the Severian that does it, and that is the case for each and every one of us.
But if
We are
Severian
all the new
keeps-
sun in some universe.
If Severian keeps dying, how does he kind of thread the story along under one consciousness? You know what I mean?
Enlightenment.
You think Severian's enlightened?
You guys know about Roger Penrose? I think that
Well,
the
he
Severian
also
that
is
saves the
writing
world
it
is-
from a point of view of being many people.
Right, many people.
and also having traveled
And
outside
all
it,
of
he's
the Severian.
all of his
stepped
own.
up to the
Yeah.
next magnitude of existence. He has gone from flatland to
Yeah.
what
5D,
sphere world. Or
yeah.
whatever it's
Okay,
called.
so from that perspective, he can see.
Oh, have you
all
read the
of
fifth book?
I have, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's where he does it.
Okay, yeah. It's not clear in my memory, honestly.
It's all right.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. But is that actually like what they talk about? Like he sees all of his lives.
No, it talks about seeing the entire, like looking at the three-dimensional universe from outside of it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a black hole with a, the whole holographic theory of existence, where it's all 3D is just a 2D thing on the outside of a 5D sphere. So yeah, I do think that and I mean that's part of his whole trial is seeing all of his lives and all the way that he's fucked over people and failed all the time, and then having his failures defend him. I think. Anyway, I got excited at the bar last night about that passage.
That one right there.
Before the gunshots.
And the young man who had swum beneath the bell-keep.
Before the gunshots outside the bar?
Yeah.
Who was shooting out? What was going on?
2 dudes, 15 shots.
How far? At north?
Yeah.
Fuck, man, that bus stop has been live lately.
It was on the other side. I feel like it.
Well,
There's a
North of North?
confluence of Jana Hunter's show and The Crown coming out.
Whoa.
Oof.
Oh,
Lower
Jesus
Dens fans
Christ.
fucking pulling guns?
Well, my fear
I
was
doubt
that it was
that.
going to be somebody being like, "Oh, fuck that trans person."
Oh.
But it wasn't.
That's rarely the case with gun violence. in the
Yeah.
city.
It's
Normally
usually
it's just drug related or interpersonal problems between individuals.
Somebody might have just dropped their gun.
15 times.
Show real
Call
butterfingers.
me Butterfinger.
Yeah, serious butterfinger.
Oh god.
Like, dude, just give me your gun.
And then I was annoyed because I'd really like to get back to thinking about my book.
Yeah.
rather than
Do you know?
gunshots that I
Did you find out any of the aftermath? Did anyone get hurt?
Two people were hurt and carried away in ambulances. I imagine they're both dead.
Christ.
A lot of times people don't die from shootings.
Yeah.
Which is very
Oh,
interesting.
yeah, but one of them was shot in like the small of their back. If they're not dead, they
Jesus
wish they were.
Christ.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's a huge problem in
Paralyzed.
Baltimore. You read about all the murders,
Yep.
but that's just a fraction of the
Right.
times that gunshots go off and people get shot, which is
Yeah.
way bigger and which is a public health crisis in and of itself.
Right.
It's just the amount of bullets and bullet shards inside of human beings in the city.
It's interesting too how the police flip-flop on which one they think's important. Like when the police are trying to make themselves look good, they talk about the murders, and then when the police are trying to make the city look bad, they talk about the shootings. And they flip. And I mean, the city and the media pretty much strictly stick to the murders.
Yeah.
And don't want to tell us about the shootings.
Right.
I remember there's like the ceasefires that they have.
Yeah.
And like I was for a hot second like dogging reporters online, and nothing came of it. Of just being like, people would report a successful ceasefire weekend, and I'd be like, but there were shootings.
Yeah.
Just no one died.
Yeah, no one died. So it's like, if we're gonna celebrate, are we assuming that that people were shooting like more carefully so that they wouldn't kill their target?
Or they're just incompetent.
Or like, yeah, I mean, you
Right.
can't really celebrate the ceasefire without, I feel like, starting to think about the intentions of the shooter. Like, were they just like everyone was lucky that got shot this weekend, or what do we think's happening?
I feel like the huge role of the ceasefire is not so much to like ultimately they want to stop the shootings, but I feel like the bigger role of it is like trying to create a different narrative and more positive spin about like very entrenched problems that we haven't been able to address. So just trying almost from a spiritual, or maybe even specifically from a spiritual angle, just trying to infuse some light into what is a very dark situation.
It is spiritual. It is also very like non-psychological in that it assigns the cause of shootings to be conscious, deliberate choices on people's parts, which sort of conflicts entirely with like the narrative that educated people have about it, which is like, this lifestyle is thrust upon you by the system. You're not culpable for like crimes you do if you are like.
That's what you think educated people think?
In this town, yeah.
I think that's super reductive.
I mean, I don't think it's like
Education doesn't describe too much about a person, in my opinion. Like, it might describe maybe your
I say there's
financial
very
background,
few.
but not.
I think that context and awareness of social factors that contribute to criminal behavior isn't an excuse for criminal behavior, and it's not an absolution of responsibility for it.
It
And
gets
also
close.
doesn't mean that you should get shot. I think that's
Yeah, well,
the
yeah,
problem
very,
a lot. Like,
yeah, right, yeah. Like being a criminal doesn't mean that you deserve, like,
Right.
Yeah.
getting shot by a cop or
Exactly.
anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I do feel like that we are at a place where when people talk about how to reduce crime, they like are either saying this has to be like, we need to make economic reforms, and this is the only thing that will change the amount of shootings, like which has a lot of.
It will
That
be the
is
most
true.
effective.
It is true, but it does not like. I mean, it is true, but it makes the most sense if you live in a neighborhood where there's never shootings. Because like you can from here, like where like this part of town, you can
That's
wait
the
out.
difference between here and Santa.
Right, you can wait out the time it will take for economic reforms to lower shootings. If you're someone who has bullets whizzing by their head,
Right,
it's
right.
not the same story.
Right. That is, yeah. I mean, that's definitely is true, but it has to be part
It's
of
not true.
No.
The people who are living with the bullets whizzing around their heads are afraid, and that makes sense. And so they want to scare people into stop throwing bullets at them, and that makes sense. But scaring people who are throwing bullets will just make them throw more bullets. It won't stop shit.
Okay,
Scaring people is never a way to actually enact change. It makes you feel better because you're afraid, but it's not going to fucking change shit. It's just going to make it
sure,
worse.
but there's a practical element that's like dismissed when you talk about simply like, I feel like it's a failure of imagination. It doesn't have to be scare people or enact financial reform, economic reforms that will take years to like actually have an impact on behavior. I think that there's stuff in the middle that no one is imagining.
I agree with you, Ryan. I know what you're talking about, and I mean the economic and social environment has to be addressed.
Right.
And it is a long-term thing when you look at the reality of how these
it
things work.
Yeah, there's not a quick fix for
But
it.
you already have like community organizations like heavily organized around like the problem is there's only so much you can do within the community lacking a major economic reform. And so the community organizations like need support. And you have to address all of the other factors that can be addressed by the state or whatever. It all works together. I don't think anyone who just talks about one part of any situation is reducing it, and we can all agree that that's
right?
dumb. And I don't think like anyone in this room would be interested in doing that.
That is I mean, yeah.
So
but
like
the people in this room are special.
But that doesn't mean that. But that
special.
also doesn't mean that. But like it doesn't also doesn't mean that the economic reforms have to happen.
That's
they do
the
have,
first thing,
yeah,
for
they
sure.
do
That's
have
the
to happen.
biggest
I'm just saying that, like, for people that live in places where you don't actually have to worry about a bullet like whizzing by your head, like, it's very easy to eclipse any other kind of action and like
Right, and
that's
true. What Ryan's saying is true. I don't know
Right.
if you guys have lived in poor black areas.
I lived almost my entire half of my time in half of my 15 years in Baltimore in more of a hood than like anyone in this
All right,
room.
well, you know what? Not everyone in this room has. So
Yeah.
maybe that has true about you, and maybe that's true about myself.
And also, like this,
But
like I live
you-
near a rich neighborhood, but also
Right,
there's
it's not
shootings
paradise.
in my neighborhood all the time.
So
No,
you
well, I
understand-
would-
So
yeah.
you understand that many of the individuals who live in neighborhoods like out in West Baltimore fucking support more police presence, and that is surprising. But it's not surprising because in the immediate, when there are bullets flying around your head, you need help now, and that is a true perspective. That I feel like.
I think you'd have a mixed bag. I don't think you'd have a consensus
The
around
individuals
that.
who I talk to, I mean, they go to their community meetings, and they're like, we need more cops. I'm talking about black residents.
Of course, if they get more cops, they're not going to go to those areas.
Also,
I'm not saying-
during the uprising,
I'm
it was
not
the
saying
gangs that were
cops
holding
are
those
the answer
communities
myself.
together.
and the
not
Nation of
cops.
Islam.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Nation of
Not
Islam
cops.
won the uprising,
I'm
in
just
my opinion.
describing
They
it.
looked
Observed.
amazing on TV.
By just calming people down.
Yeah, there was like helicopter footage of just like dudes like from Nation of Islam going corner to corner and just being like, stop, that store is like not, get out of there, put those things back you were stealing, and they'd like calm a corner down and then just go to the next one, and there's like a chopper following them around watching that. It was like the only like holy shit like heroic footage that we were allowed to see.
It's disgusting.
What?
I touched that thing.
Don't touch that thing, Connor.
Don't touch that again.
So, I mean, the thing that I said was reductive, and that I took issue with what you were saying was that you were saying that the position is that people are not responsible for their own actions given the context of given their environment, and I don't think that anybody is saying that. I think that understanding context is not an absolution of moral responsibility or legal responsibility.
I hope so.
I mean, there may be like some doofus that thinks that, but like that person is
probably a
not the person that we
libertarian.
like need to be talking about.
No,
I know.
He can't talk about the L word right now.
Just a joke to make Connor do that.
Okay.
It's
Let's-
liberals who think that.
Do you
way.
guys want
I
to?
do.
You guys want
Thank you, Jen. Yes.
to go back to them?
To the book. So we find out about
I don't like
the-
libertarians or liberals.
Falcom.
Or
Progressive-
librarians.
Progressives only.
So he comes out of his
Talk about
trip,
that later.
and then
Yeah, I'm not progressive.
then he meets up with these lake people. Or wait, no, he's still with the head.
Shore
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, shore people.
After the Battle of the Boats.
Well, that's
Wait, what?
That's an atrium. That's yeah.
We
so.
skipped like ahead. Where are we at?
I mean,
Yeah, what's
Natrium's
happening
chapter
right now?
30. I'm
Okay.
just trying
That's
to
3.
catch us through.
Okay.
So like, the Hetman's boat is basically him just coming out of a trip and then being like, you have to go to this castle now, right? They're
Yes.
gonna take him to the castle, or are they trying to take him somewhere else?
No, I thought they were taking him to the castle.
They were
Can
taking
someone
us to the
describe
castle.
it to me though?
They sent the claw ahead to
What
the
is
castle.
what is the timeline of it? So Severian gets drugged.
Mm-hmm.
Now before that, did they send like someone out to talk to Baldanders and be like, "There's
Definitely.
this dude with a cat"? Okay, and
Definitely.
Baldanders was like, "Go drug that guy." Bring him to
Baldanders
me.
was like, bring him
Bring
to
that
me.
guy to me. Okay, and they were like, "Okay, cool," and
Or-
they came back.
Probably Dr. Talos.
I mean, it seems the timeline seems crunched to me considering how far away it is, but maybe they have some device.
They sent Baldanders the claw.
Yeah, they got it.
That's
to
how
him.
he knows that it's Severian and he wants to
But
go
when they
drug.
drugged him, did they know that Baldanders wanted it, or were they just drugging him just because?
I think that the shore people are constantly toadying to Baldanders every chance they get.
Yeah.
Because he's terrifying and he kidnaps people at will.
Yeah.
Okay,
'Cause-
so they were like, "Ooh, maybe he'll know what to do with this guy," so they drug him.
Or like maybe he'll like not steal my child because we gave him a cool thing.
Right. So they do that.
And they take the claw from him. I think without really knowing what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And I don't. Did they didn't see the claw before that? Did they?
Well, when he's hanging out by himself in the hut and he's looking at the
Yeah.
claw, I think he glows and they're clearly spying on him
Someone's
the whole
looking
time.
Okay.
out through the window or something.
I think that he glows.
When he pulls it
Severian.
out?
I think
Oh,
Severian
you think
is glowing.
Severian
Like
was?
the way that when he finds the thorn, you know, like the claw that's inside the gem,
Yeah.
he describes it as like being black but still having its own light.
Well, there's another section in book 5 where like I feel like there's a part where he's like, what the hell's that light? Oh, it's coming out of my eyes. And I think like something like that is going on here. I forget why I think that. Sorry.
I mean, he does seem to-
Anyway, just to answer your technical question, it says they sent the claw with a messenger bird to the castle, and then another messenger bird
They got
came back.
birds. Yep. Okay.
Oh.
Good call. I missed that.
It's right here.
So it's
I
interesting.
just
'cause
saw
he,
it, and now
'cause he
I can
describes
answer
the
your
claw
question.
being pulled from his neck by a peregrine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
In
tripping.
his trip.
He's tripping, but then the claw is actually taken by a bird to.
Oh, that is
Baldanders.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like, I feel like that's a classic Wolf thing.
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
cute.
the things that you see in your imagination are more real than you'll ever give them credit for.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like-
All of Severian's lies become what actually happens. I feel
Right.
like.
Kind of, yeah. Or it's like in Dungeon World where you gave that bird that mirror chain,
And it just
flew
flew
away.
away.
That was it.
That was a good moment in tabletop role-playing history. I received an artifact of inestimable value, and because of the character I play's personality, he gave it to the first bird he saw, who took it away, and we've never seen it again.
Okay.
The chain of mirrors. Who knows? I don't know what
Should
happened.
bring that one back.
Should.
Okay. And so the message comes back, and then Baldander says, "Okay, bring him to me." And so they decide to do that. Okay.
But they're going by boat,
They're going back. Yeah.
right? And so like as they're kind of like making their way across the lake, they come in contact with the lake people, who seem to just have very little and not really know what's going on.
Severian and Libio's conversation rules. Severian keeps being like, I understand. Yes, you must be so cold in the winter. He's like, nah, our jackets are fine, man. You know, seals, you ever heard of them? They're it's way better than the jackets they
We
have.
grease up, we're all right.
You're not wearing a shirt.
Right. Yeah, well, winter is hard for them because the lake freezes over, so the shore people come and attack them.
Yeah, that was such a beautiful, it was a very like liberal guy scene right there. Wait, I have some stuff. Are we in Natrium yet?
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah. Where is it that Severian kind of picks up that he's actually going to meet with Baldanders? Like, there's like one point where someone describes like the giant in the castle, and he's like, "Oh, I know." He kind of like smiles or something. Do you remember? Like, there's a point in here where he realizes beforehand who he's going to meet because he's not
I
surprised.
don't know. When it seemed like the giant in the castle, because he also seems surprised when he sees Dr. Talos like open the door at the castle.
Is he?
He does act surprised when he sees Talos, and then later on he's like, "Oh, I figured this out already."
Right.
That's the thing. He
that's
fucking
what he does.
always does that.
But I
He
feel
does
like
do
that
that.
part earlier
Oh,
where he's
yeah.
like, "Oh, a giant in the castle." That felt to me more like one of the stories from the Brown Book, and so he is almost like he's like, "Oh, this is a fairy tale now, and I'm in this fairy tale. I'm gonna kill an ogre."
I wish I took notes. I feel like there was a part in here somewhere where I feel like he did realize it.
I think that if he's thinking,
I think
if he realizes that he's in a fairy tale, then he would assume that the giant will be Voldemort's.
I don't think that
That's
he
how I
knows.
live my life, and I'm never wrong.
I think he's lying about knowing it
Yeah.
beforehand. It's just that's just like such his character is to like, oh yeah, I knew.
Yeah,
That
totally.
thing that just happened.
Here's
Yeah,
the
solid
the
comment.
part you're thinking of, Tim, is on 167, where
Holy shit.
they're telling him about the builder who lived there. Nobody saw him, and then he said, "At last I ventured. Perhaps he's dead. An evil giant dwells there now, but no one has seen him. I could hardly repress a smile. Still, I would think his presence must do a great deal to prevent the shore people from attacking the place."
I think the smile is where he's like, oh. Like,
But he could be
I
lying
could
about the smile.
be impressed.
He could be lying about the smile. Yeah, I don't know. I like it is a little
Severity
weird
towards
because
writing could lie.
there is some sort of there's a wink there. Like
Yeah.
he knows that something is up, but
Right.
but then later he seems surprised by it being Baldanders and Talos.
Yeah. Yeah, it could go either way. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so subtle. Like just when he drops that, and he's like, and he smiles there.
Well, I mean, there's other. So, like, there's an evil giant that lives there now. 5 years past, the shore people burned down the castle, and like, if he puts two and two together, he'd be like, Baldanders is a giant whose castle got burned down about 5 years ago. Like, he could. I'm not saying he does figure it out, but
Yeah.
it's there
He
for
could.
him to
He
figure
could.
out at this point
Yeah, on face value, that seems to be what's
on
happening.
Facebook.
On Facebook. Yep.
Yeah, Severian just gets on
.org.
Facebook.
When is someone
Looks
going to
up what
write like a
Baldanders
really
is up
good
to.
fantasy novel about Facebook?
Never, I hope.
/ no follow up. I was gonna say, what's that movie? It's probably a fantasy novel.
Oh no, like I want.
Isn't that just cyberpunk? Isn't just like
Yeah.
mostly like 80s like cyberpunk science
Facebook
fiction,
is
like
shitty-
fantasy about Facebook?
shitty
Yeah.
cyberpunk.
It's like
I mean, it is. It's really watered down, but like I don't know if you read Snow Crash or something, like it's there.
I'd like to see like metaphors about, like something that's not about actually Facebook, but the writer is like talking about what Facebook does or what it's like,
Yeah.
how does it affect our society, but like transferred it entirely.
It's
to
Game of
something-
Thrones. That's what Game of Thrones is about.
Have you seen Game of Thrones episodes translated to Facebook? It's really funny.
What?
Oh, just where it's like
comments and
timeline.
Yeah,
stuff.
it's like Jamie pokes Brienne,
yeah.
Brienne pokes Jamie, Jamie pokes Brienne, Brienne pokes Jamie, and then Hodor is just like Hodor. It's funny.
Do we have to talk about this?
Nope.
Sorry.
No, we don't have to.
We gotta talk
It's
about
so
the
funny.
book. That's like
Yeah.
So they sort of like in an abstract way explain to Severian what's going on.
Yeah. Is it in the Heaven's boat still? Or are we at Demetrium yet?
I think this is in.
I think we're past-
Well, that's in People
We're
of
at
the
the
Lake.
end.
People are like, let's go
Yeah.
past it. This whole business is all plot. I don't feel like it's.
It's all kind of one.
Bridges all that.
All the chapters are very
Plot
short.
doesn't matter. It's all symbols.
oh, this is the symbol part with the Thecla.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I just
And the and the tattoo that we're gonna get the
What page, Jen?
162 tab 162.
a serpent in the last letter but one,
Oh, yeah.
and a sword in the last.
Oh, yeah.
Which I feel that's the
Wait, what were you just said?
That's
He's the
that's the tattoo that we're gonna get for the book club.
right there.
Oh, I can't.
The word
Tattoo
last
until
with
I'm
a snake and a sword in it.
We are like children.
Oh, which the
Looking for
last
the
word of that paragraph
last letter.
is-
has an S
yeah,
and a T.
that's
Yeah.
what it is, yeah.
It's so interesting too because this is an inversion. I feel like of the normal argument you have to make that about symbols, which is like that symbols are as real as concrete, like words. And then here he's taking like the deeper meaning is the word's meaning, not the like purely image, like the image of the word. But I feel like Wolfe's normal thing is trying to train us to see the opposite, is to like not just see the literal thing that's there and see what it symbolizes.
Because it goes back. Truth goes
It's
back
both,
and forth.
yeah, it's
Right,
all
right.
of it.
Yeah,
It's the dimensionality thing.
yeah.
Like the image is one plane of the symbol.
Right.
It's not important. It's just not the only thing.
Right. And they're related.
And it also it also doesn't only go one way. It's
Right.
not unidirectional. Like as above, so below, also means as below, so above.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And it's cool.
That which is above is like that which is below.
It's cool to get such a concrete...
It's a fucking hologram fractal. It's
fucking
way better. I feel like a fractal or like the Sephiroth or whatever are a way better like illustration conceptually than like a duality.
Sure.
Personally,
I don't know if as above so below.
It's two things.
I don't
is
know,
all
but
I'm
it's a
saying.
spectrum.
It's like
It's a
I don't
spectrum.
think that it necessarily implies a duality because above and belowness aren't finite points.
yeah.
They're relative to
Well,
each
and
other.
also the whole point is that it's just like, hey, you guys that think of this or not this, you got to look at how that's a spectrum.
Yeah.
Like and that's what I think they're trying to say with as above, so below. That it's not just one or two. It's like one comes out of two and two comes out of one, and it's all part of one thing that's all together.
Right.
I just think
that's
that
like what-
all I'm saying is
yeah,
I just
what we were
think
talking
that
about
the
earlier,
other
bacteria.
things are a more direct illustration of it. It's not that that one's
Sure.
not doing that. It's just
Well, but it's also a crazier explanation. I can explain to my mom as above, so below easier than the tree of life.
Well, your mom's a devout Catholic. I mean.
what about a fractal? What about a hologram?
There's no way I could explain those things to my mom.
Okay.
Would you describe this group of people as a holocule?
Oh.
Boo!
Molecule.
A
The
holocule?
crossover I didn't know we needed. Molecule.
I hate it.
Yeah, that got a lot of like sticky cheese faces around the table.
Oh, I really like that word. Oh, touch it again. Oh, it's horrible.
Why are you
So-
doing that?
I want it to look.
I love it.
This.
Oh no, that does bad.
No.
Oh,
Touch
real bad.
this.
That
No.
does bad.
Try
That
it.
does
Someone
bad.
will like
That
it.
does bad. Okay, alright.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay,
You'll
so
like
they fire off the natrium
Yep.
slugs, which I think are just sodium, because that's what happens when you throw pure sodium in water. And
What happens?
There's an explosion. That's,
Ooh, how do you get it?
Sodium is Na.
yeah, that's what it is.
I know, I'm just.
Oh, natrium. Oh, yeah, I never thought about
I
that.
think that's probably
Mark was
where-
like, yo.
I was like, you're right. That is the symbol for it.
I respond to a lot of
Well,
things
I was
that
just
way.
like, and then.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. But then also Baldanders talks about how Severian's kind of like, oh, like those bolts are really neat. It's like, yeah, the sea just makes that shit. Like,
Yeah.
then because it's just sodium.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's still a big deal for them.
Baldanders does truly understand how stupid Severian is. I feel like Baldanders
Sure.
is constantly, whenever he's talking to
Yeah.
Severian, he's constantly just like,
And he's like, I really should have just fucking killed you that first
yeah,
time.
like he's really just fucking.
I
feel like strangled you in the bed.
Has
He's so,
amazing
like-
patience for severity.
Yeah, but he is constantly just like,
He's kind of amused by him, at least, don't you think?
maybe.
It's like,
Baldanders.
I don't
yeah.
know.
Like to the capacity that Baldanders is capable of being.
Yeah.
I think
He has a limited ability.
Baldanders is pretty focused on his own shit. I think so to the
Yeah.
point where like
Yeah.
Severian's kind of like just a really big inconvenience.
Just sort of like, yeah, just some character just kind of comes into his life sometimes, but Baldanders isn't too concerned about Severian. Like when they part before.
He knows they're locked in together, though.
He does.
And he knows that he's got
Does
thousands
Baldanders
of
have
years.
foresight? Does Baldanders see like into the future, or does he kind of like understand time a little bit differently?
I don't think he sees into the
I-
future.
I think
He intends to be there.
It's,
Right.
I think
Okay.
it's more about mechanics than it is like he understands what has been happening and then can extrapolate what must needs happen. That he'll be like the new Erebus and Severian's going to be. You know, I feel like he can just put two and two together and come to like, oh,
He knows that. Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
because he's fucking smart.
Yeah.
Smart big man.
Yeah.
And big smart because he's big. I think seems to be a part of it also. his brain.
Oh,
his
and
brain
because
is-
he's smart.
Yeah,
keeps
it's both of them.
developing.
And I guess like and he has. I thought it was really interesting to kind of find out more about like the kind of mechanical aspects of how Talos is actually helping him, and like how it's not just this like, oh, you can just kind of grow forever and it works okay. It's like you got to be really specific about how like you have to control it in a way or else it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You seen Akira?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
totally.
That's what I
Right. Go
It's
Tetsuya.
kinda
It's like
happening.
that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like because Baldaner's actually says like the brain is the worst part. You know, and you can tell he's just like constantly just like, oh my god, it sucks.
Just like Tetsuo.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. All right, so that part happens.
It happens.
Do you want to get to the people of the lake? And these
Yes.
this whole stretch of chapters are so plot like, which
Yeah, I mean,
which is great.
It's very much like piece move. I think that's why it feels more like a Vancian or like
Yeah.
Warcock kind of thing because
Yeah.
there's a lot of just like shit moves quickly
For sure.
from here.
Short chapters are cool.
I love this book, the third installment that I didn't realize so much in my previous readings. Like it's an adventure book, you know. Like each chapter kind of brings like a new sort of challenge for Severian. You know, like he's been through so much this whole thing, and the people of the lake seems like the weirdest to me. Like they're on these floating islands. Like what? What's up with the floating islands?
Like Titicaca.
They're like really big lily pads, basically.
Yeah, I guess that they're just
It's
floating
something
around
that
out
actually
there.
happens in our world, right? Back me up on this.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure the reason that I ended up thinking that like Lake Eterna is Lake Titicaca is because people live on Lake Titicaca like that.
On these like floating
Yeah.
lily pads.
Like
I believe
man-made
so. I
islands?
can't cite where I read
It's
that, but
sweet.
yeah. But,
Let's
Is
find
Lake
out.
Titicaca currently in a climate where it could freeze, or is that something in the far future?
I think everything is
it's-
cooled down in this.
Yeah, because the sun's
Lake Titicaca is
Between Peru and Bolivia.
and it's really really high up.
Oh,
which
Yeah,
they
high
talk about.
altitude. Okay.
It has the only freshwater seahorse in it because it was coetaneous with a coetaneous.
How do you think
but
they
it-
taste?
Huh?
Stop.
Seahorses.
Bony.
Bony.
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of meat on a seahorse.
I mean, people eat frogs like.
Yeah, but they're good.
Well, I would think a seahorse would probably be even better.
Well, why don't you get one?
It's all briny.
I will when I can.
It's really nice
as
looking
soon as
lake.
I can.
Titicaca?
Yeah,
What?
it's a beautiful lake.
Go on.
It's huge.
Is that what
It's
Wikipedia
quite large.
says?
I mean, there's a picture of it. That's what I say about the picture.
Beautiful lake.
It's a beautiful lake.
A beautiful lake.
I'm trying to
Brackets
find
harmless.
these your floating islands thing, but I'm not seeing anything about that yet.
Ah, well.
There are a lot of reeds and other aquatic vegetation that grow there.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Islands. The floating islands are small man-made islands
Yeah.
constructed by the Uru
These
people
are.
from layers of cut Torah, a thick, buoyant reed that grows abundantly in the shallows.
There you go.
They harvest the reeds that naturally grow on the lake's banks to make the islands by continuously adding reeds to the surface. All right.
Is it
So,
like a boat or is it like a residence?
They call them reed islands. Like they're not. I guess they're small, but they're not. Like they have boats too.
Yeah. Like I guess
So do
if you
these
had
guys.
one that was going on for long enough, it could turn
It
into
says-
like something really solid. That
It says each island contains
Japan's
several
doing it.
thatched houses, typically belonging to members of a single extended family.
Huh.
So that would be like having like a family reunion size
That's so
group
cool.
of people on the island.
My family reunion.
As of-
They're much bigger than that.
My family reunion is really big too. Yeah. As of 2011, about 1,200 Uros lived on an archipelago of 60 artificial islands, clustering in the western corner of the lake near Puno, a major Peruvian port town.
60. That's great.
yeah.
Oh man,
So-
I'd love to.
And they're like a tourist
community
attraction. Like
that.
they let people come in and like check out their shit.
Hey, do you want to come ruin our way of life? Check it out.
I think they make money off of them, so I think it's working out okay.
Well, that's really.
I guess it is really life. Yeah.
It's art. Capitalism already ruined it. Okay.
So he talks with Livio. Oh, by the way, referring to sex as entering is the worst.
That's a classic Severian sex line at the beginning of this one.
That whole thing, I'm just like, ugh, it's so gross. Why would you? Ugh.
Yeah.
Like he's just meditating on how he
I
raped
know.
2 different women.
Oh my god.
Like that's.
It's the worst. Oh my god.
He also gets his first actual hug.
Ever in his life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
She's still in chains because they can't figure out how to get her chains
Yeah.
off. But he couldn't wait.
It's hard for me not to try to and I can't get to Wolfe through this, but it's hard for me not to wonder about Wolfe. Like the paragraph of I've heard it said by men who have known many women that at last they come to see resemblances loved between certain ones.
Yeah.
That's it's just the kind of person that says that out loud, you know?
Yeah, but
It's
Gene Wolfe is not saying that.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's difficult for me, to pull myself back into being no, this is Severian saying that, and not Gene Wolfe.
Oh, really?
It's hard. Yeah.
Oh, I feel the opposite. I feel like so much of Severian is Gene being this isn't okay, and I see so many of the people who are like me being like this. And check out this asshole. This is what you're like, asshole.
You gotta
I
have
feel
evil
like
to
that's the
see
point of
evil.
Severian. And it's why I'm happy that truck drivers read this book.
Or listen to it.
Right.
Who narrates it
I don't know.
on the book on tape version?
There's a book on tape.
You should look into that.
I should.
You should be the one.
Well, they already... I mean, sure.
They do new editions.
I'll see what I can do.
What's that? Oh, is it lit?
Yeah, just
It looked like an
Lit
ant
is-
trap.
But I remember you brought
He
that
brings his own.
could be that too.
up, Connor. I think in one of our first meetings, and
Yeah.
at the time I disagreed with you, but I think the conversation was slightly different. But you made the same point in a different context. But yeah, I think I'm still on the fence about.
He could be more
how Gene
explicit.
Wolfe- Yeah.
You think Gene Wolfe could be more explicit?
Yeah.
I don't think that Gene Wolfe is capable of that. And I also think that it would undermine the whole point.
Well, and in a first-person narrative, I think having a authorial intrusion is complicated.
Well, and also
That'd be
I
hard
think
to
the
do.
point is to lead the horse to water, but you can't make it think. You know, you can't just say to an asshole, "You're an asshole in this way." You have to have them be like, "Oh, look at that guy. He's an asshole. Oh shit, I do that."
Yeah, but
that's
I
the only
think-
way it'll work.
I think he could
Yeah.
be more blatantly an asshole.
Right.
Yeah, I
It
feel
could
like
be
you can
clearer.
still be an asshole and read that and be like, "Fuck yeah."
So you're
Right,
saying
right,
that
right,
Severian
for
is
sure.
too cool?
No.
What?
I just mean
I mean, I'm an asshole, and I guess my reaction to that is don't say that. It's not like you are thinking a wrong thing. I'm like, you don't say that.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. He could be more of an asshole.
I also
Because
think
I haven't
assholes-
learned my lesson.
I think assholes say "fuck yeah" when they're covering up that they're like, "Oh shit," often. I think
Yeah, fair.
when assholes are supportive of asshole behavior, it's because they desperately can't let asshole behavior be bad.
Right.
Right.
And it's rarely that they
They're-
actually think that's a good
Like
thing to
own
do.
it.
They know that it's wrong, so they have to cut. They have to have a reaction of some type.
Well, if you own
It
it,
can't
you
be
can-
shamed.
If you own it, you can say that it's not bad.
Mhm.
It's the genealogy.
Or you can say that it's good as a substitute for any other. It's it's a reaction that you can have without having to invest yourself in it or think about it. You know, you have a void because the thing that you really think is you can't say, so you have to put anything in there. You know, I don't think it's a calculated move.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not let's make this good so we can keep doing it. It's oh shit, I'm ashamed. Say something.
Although I'm sorry if I'm talking away from what you were.
It's fine. There's plenty of more time to talk about Syrian.
Yeah,
sucking.
Being an asshole.
Well, it's an interesting question about the whole book, and just a thing in the back of all of our heads. I feel like it's what's the deal? with
What's the deal,
Severian-
Gene?
with Severian's portrayal, and what was Gene Wolfe's intention?
And what was, I guess for me, it's what was his experiences that went into creating his character? Is it all confessional stuff? from his own like feelings? Is it like
For Wolfe,
yeah? Is it like dudes he was around in the army? Or is
Right.
it dudes he was around as an engineering
Right.
thing? Like or is dudes in school? Like you know, it's like it doesn't matter. I don't need to know these things, but I can't not be curious about them. Like where does he get? What is his like map to toxic masculinity?
I mean, I haven't read like a ton of other Wolf stuff, but like I did read that the Sorcerer's House or whatever, which is a recent like 2010 book. I read that earlier this year, and the characters there are some similarities. Like the main character is a liar and like a little bit of a bastard and a womanizer. Like there's and he's not. I don't think he's necessarily like you see the holes there. Like you see the lies that he's telling. Like you see there's definitely like not like I don't know. Like you don't sense an authorial like approval of that behavior in the way that you might in some maybe like a less sophisticated writing or like fan fiction or something. You know where there tends to only be one layer of meaning there.
Right.
And I don't know. Like I feel like maybe Gene was just really interested in these kinds of figures, particularly in the context of literature.
Yeah.
Because so much of like particularly modern literature is driven by these kinds of like singular figures who make forceful decisions and like get through something. And I see a lot of this as that figure kind of being turned on its head. Where
Yeah.
in the same way that Elric is kind of a dissection of that kind of like uber masculine.
Yeah, and I think ultimately like the criticism, not even criticism in a bad way, but just like the critical thought that I'm having about Severian is that it's couched so hard in the masculine culture of science fiction and fantasy, and is a response. So Severian's complex approach to womanizing, I feel like, is a response, but it doesn't go outside of the grasp of toxic masculinity which surrounds it, which is a failing of the book overall, or just making it a product of its time. Like it's still within the sphere of pulp science fiction, but it is a response within that and an attempt to make it more complicated. Make a more complicated hero than Conan, for example, but that it's not masterful in the way that it like breaks out of that, like Le Guin or a contemporary science fiction writer now has a greater context of how masculinity shapes these kinds of ideas.
Yeah.
Say that makes sense. Like,
I think that's something that I don't know. I feel like Wolfe is interested in that question, but that's not his main focus for this book, and that's probably
like for
why
Wolfe, even Severian considering and having conversations with these women, and having thoughts about women, even that for him within that limited sphere of psychology is an evolution of the character.
And they're just,
but for us, we now see things in a different context, and we can see the shortcomings of that.
I think that dudes who write sci-fi would mostly say, like, I would never write from the point of view of a woman or try to have an extremely complex woman character because I don't know what women are like, and this is out of respect because I don't want to fuck it up and get in trouble.
I think you can, but it's like...
I'm not saying they're right.
Okay.
This is based on an interview I saw with Neil Stephenson, where somebody was like, how come you don't have lady bad guys? And he's like,
but it's like you have cyborgs. You can imagine a cyborg's like train of thought, but you can't imagine a woman's. Like that's such a cop out.
But also, like you don't have to write a woman character differently from a man character.
Right, but
like
these
it's a
guys don't
stupid
know that.
idea in general.
These guys are so entrenched in like I just don't understand women that like.
Are you including Wolfe in these guys?
I am including Wolfe.
Potentially, yeah.
I am totally including.
Great.
For sure.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I mean, given that he was writing this in the
I think
late
that's
70s and early
real
80s.
dumb.
I also think that
I think it's good.
It is real dumb.
What?
I think that they're all a part of it is that they're all on the spectrum. You know, they're all semi-autistic.
Oh yeah, that's.
And so like they can't. They it blows their mind to think outside of their own heads. Certainly, they're not going to think out of what seems to them to be a completely different being. You know.
To his credit, Dorcas best character.
Totally.
Yeah,
and he
definitely.
knows that.
Yeah.
I think that
But you
the-
can never
that's
get
a big
inside her
step
head.
the fact that there
within
are
science fiction
the
is
fact
to
that there
create-
are like really vital female characters
Right.
in this story that like don't.
Right. Like if you read
I mean,
Asimov, I don't.
I don't
think
think
there's
Wolfe
any-
is like a woman hater.
Right.
No,
I don't think there's any
no.
women-
But it is like
He's a
not
product of his
pleasant to like read.
I think he's like a middle-aged Catholic guy in the early '80s. Like I think that you can see that he's moving in some directions, but I think ultimately like he's gonna be a middle-aged Catholic guy in the early '80s too.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much enlightenment we can expect from him, but I think that I think it's important to. I think it's important to
I
look.
think if you can expect all the other kinds of enlightenment from him that you expect from him, you could expect that from him.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't-
fair. Yeah.
I don't expect
Like-
anything.
yeah, I got. Well,
I'm just saying, like, I feel like
he knows
if
who
you're,
the Shekinah
Yeah.
is.
yeah, I feel like if, I don't know.
Right.
I just don't.
If you can conceptualize different dimensions and different beings and stuff, how come you can't? Yeah.
There's
Well,
a
and
very
just
simple.
like
It's respect. They think it's respect, even though it's not.
Right.
There's
He
a
thinks that he's being
fucking. There's a
respectful.
very
Right,
concrete
that's-
answer to that. It's not having platonic female friends.
Yeah,
That's
and
what
also-
it is.
Right.
It's like if you're a dude that does not have platonic female friends, then you are like lost at fucking sea when it comes to imagining what women are. And once you have platonic female friends, like real friendships that have a duration longer than like whatever,
and aren't motivated by sex at all.
yeah, and aren't moved by sex, then I feel like you are suddenly no longer lost at all. Like you're not dealing with the alien species anymore. You're dealing with someone who's just like you.
Yeah.
And I think that especially military culture, engineering culture, at the time that he's coming from, it's very easy for me to imagine that he doesn't have many or any perhaps platonic female friends, and a lot of the people he knows don't have any.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's. I don't think that excuses.
Right, right,
Like,
right.
I think that
Just
your
explain
criticism
where
is
he's
super
coming
valid.
from. Yeah.
But the context of it, like, it also just kind of makes sense why it's this way, but
Yeah.
it also kind of sucks that it's this way.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's a legitimate thing you can, sort of criticize about the book.
And I guess that you see that thing coming back, like at the next octave with the incel people.
Who like this book?
Do they? I mean, I wouldn't be
It
surprised.
seems like, like incel has some kind of like libertarian kind of overlap. Am I right? I don't actually know.
No, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I don't know that the incels are the ones that like this book, though.
I think there's similar indoctrination communities
Yeah.
that engage with this book sometimes.
I don't know. I don't know anything about these people.
Let's not paint all libertarians as incels.
Yes, some of
All
them.
libertarians.
Well, that
Not
is-
one libertarian has ever had sex. And they never will.
Living proof that you're wrong.
Maybe they've never,
You're not a
He's having
libertarian.
sex
maybe
right
they've
now.
had it, but they've never been good at it.
I think that's.
Living proof that you're wrong.
Again, you're not a libertarian, Connor. I'm
Fucking
sorry.
got a card, asshole.
On you?
No.
Well, we'll believe that later.
Yeah, right.
That's funny.
Okay.
You're a card-carrying libertarian.
I have been. I no longer am.
Oh.
At this moment, I'm a Democrat.
Oh.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
sorry,
I'm
but I'm
a registered
soon going to be a
Democrat, but I'm
Republican.
not a Democrat
Yeah.
by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
You're,
I just
yeah, your
need
card,
to
you-
vote in their primaries.
Right.
Anyway,
So,
Anywho.
want to talk about the castle, or is there more about the islands we want to cover?
I just think they sound beautiful.
They do.
This
This
is the part we
wonderful
talked a little
chapter.
bit about where he whatever betrays the secret.
Oh yeah.
that,
We obey.
That they obey.
I feel like that is. I feel like that's a lot more jarring now than I imagine it was when people read it then. But maybe I'm just predicting.
Why is that?
Because I feel like now, like, not obeying is so worked into our culture that it's like the idea of somebody choosing to obey is. It seems to me way more shocking than it would have been to my dad at my age. Like,
Right, like the saying, we obey. It's
yeah.
big-
Like, I feel like when he wrote this, there was still quite a bit of faith in, like, authority,
Well-
and I don't think that exists at all now.
Well, and particularly if you're coming at this from like a sort of whatever ruggedly individualistic libertarian mindset,
Yeah.
having that obedience be a cornerstone of this like hero's consciousness could certainly be jarring.
Yeah, it is Catholic as fuck. I mean, it is
right.
As the book finishes, I think the last paragraphs are him having some sort of religious awakening, right?
Yeah, it does seem like.
He's like, how could I refuse to be and create what I had willingly given the author?
Yeah, like that is just that is like one of the most naked, I feel like, explanations of Gene Wolfe being Catholic at all that we've done.
Was totally what like a render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's kind of thing, where it's like there is both compelling obedience in a socio-political structure and within the whatever theological structure.
This like conclusion that like if you're capable of giving it to a mundane terrestrial institution, like shouldn't you be able to give it so much easily to something way better than a mundane terrestrial?
Yeah, exactly.
It's somewhat compelling.
Yeah.
I mean, at the very least, I feel like it's on that same level of Stephen King, of being like, yeah, I believe in ghosts. Like, what would be the point of not believing it? It would just be the same world I'm in, but more boring. I kind of feel like this is like a pious version of that.
And I think it's also a way for Severian to convince himself that he's still a torturer. And that he's still like a part of his upbringing when he's gone so far beyond it, but now he can still say like, oh well, I'm just obeying on an even greater level than before.
Yeah.
I might as well be a master torturer.
Which is weird because I feel like that's now that hearing you say that, it's kind of like that's, I guess, my own relationship to Catholicism.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I will always be this. I wouldn't be anything like this without that. I wouldn't be anything like this without the whole like, rebellion that being raised like that touched off too.
It's the actual secret point of Catholicism, and the only way to be a good Catholic is to be like, I reject all this, I am it anyway.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, you can't just know that
Kierkegaard would be into that.
Yeah, you can never give it up. You can never not be.
I don't know if he's Catholic.
Same as with, and that's why we get along so well with Jews.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You can't give it. You can't give it up.
We all fight God because he's trying to eat us all.
You love him.
So
And you love him, but you're also scared.
No,
of him.
he's love. I don't have to love God. God is love. I don't have to love him.
You can love other stuff, and then you're participating in God.
Exactly.
exactly.
I like that. I like that more than the Protestant thing,
That's
which
right.
is just
Protestants
that you
are
have
wrong.
to have a God boner all the time and give it to everyone else.
Yeah, the Protestants it's unfortunate, but they're on the way out.
So, to the castle. To the castle we go here.
The castle reminded me of one of the cards from the Nod deck.
Which one?
The ones with the mushroom towers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because
They're
that's like
talking
straight
about
up
a
like
new divination deck that Connor designed and that Mark is the editor of
No.
and publisher.
Bring it.
There's no pictures yet.
We're working on
Oh,
that part.
okay.
Oh, I have to talk to William about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll let you know
whatever.
when it's available to regular people like you guys.
The Noetic Oracular Deck.
Hey, very nice.
I don't think
No
that you can
glitter.
do that.
I was told that
She
was not possible.
had a series of clues that you missed.
You
Yeah.
failed to
Kirby
obey.
just solved a puzzle that was not able to be solved by a lot of nerds the night previous.
Wow.
And she ain't even a nerd.
Well then.
She's in this book club.
Now I
think
trolled
that's
you. I trolled you.
How dare you? This motherfucking book club is at my house.
This motherfucker.
How about the coffee for this shit?
How dare you cast
Aspersions have been cast.
It's okay. You know, it's okay.
Well, just remember this argument the next time I invite you to play a role-playing game.
There's different kinds of nerds.
Oh, did she turn down your offer to be in Shadowrun?
I didn't get to as far
There's
as an
different
offer. I
kinds of
just
nerds.
asked if she liked complicated games.
I like-
Because we had played Boggle.
I don't. Yeah,
You don't like
whatever.
Boggle?
There's different kinds
She
of
likes
nerds.
Oh, you like okay.
I do 1,000 100,000% more crossword puzzles than you do.
Yeah, but but it's
different
really
kinds of
funny to
nerds.
watch you have this happening right now. Like, this is the point. This is why I said it.
I know. I can't not.
You are playing into my
I know.
hands.
Well, this book club has
I
just
know.
turned into us trolling each other.
Because it's fun. Because it's
Well,
fun.
because all of those people,
They're not. Yeah, they're not trolling us. We have to do it.
Yeah, where is
ourselves.
Caleb, by the way? The outsider is not among us today.
Oh.
Jen, do you have ice?
Yeah, in the left top.
There's too many of these left.
I'll eat one.
Which kind?
Plain.
Yeah, I don't want to take this home.
I'm gonna have the goo.
Which kind of goo?
Red. Red goo.
The blood.
It's gonna get all over my notebook, and I'm here for it.
Blood of Christ.
Blood of Christ.
Oh.
Do this in memory of me.
In Hebrew, you call those sufgan yot. It's a Hanukkah, a jelly donut.
With the goo.
Oh,
Hanukkah thing.
Oh,
I
shit.
thought that you were referring to how food fell out of his mouth.
Nope.
Oh no, it didn't fall out of my mouth. This gooey
Fell off of his
undine
head.
fell off my head.
Oh, I hate it.
Is Suf John Stevens named after a Jewish donut?
I hope so.
That would be funny.
That'd be really good.
Oh.
Ugh.
If you squeeze it, it's not as
What
bad.
if it
Okay,
fell
yeah.
right into the middle of your jelly donut?
I mean,
What if that thing just like plopped?
it would
right
look
in
like
the jelly?
it was like covered in blood, like it just feasted upon someone's flesh.
You seen The Cove?
No, what's
Oh,
it called?
please don't talk about that.
Okay.
What is the cove?
Please don't talk about it.
Please just tell me a little bit about it.
I'll text you.
Okay, text me.
I don't know. Wait,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't
email
know
me.
your phone
You
number.
email me.
I'll email. you.
Email.
Okay.
Are you
the
gonna email
castle?
me now?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
The castle.
I'll check in a few minutes.
So they roll up. Severian's basically like, they told me that there's a building and a wall, and that's it. I don't know anything else about what I'm going to do. And then I think he was just assuming that it was going to be like a really shitty little stupid thing, and then he rolls in and he's like, oh, there's a orb-like spaceship on top of this?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
A
I love that
UFO.
description too. Like the
Yeah,
description of it just hovering over the
So good.
tower.
Yeah.
It makes me think
And-
of the man who wasn't there.
Oh man, there's so much good writing in these sections too. Like I know this is fast forwarding a little bit, but when he describes like the Hierodules going back up to their ship, oh, the writing there is so
Yeah, it's good.
crucial.
Yeah, so how they're like they're going down instead of up, and like
Yeah.
it was very cool. And even like just when he's describing the things like the misty light of the moon, the younger sister's kiss upon the face of her dying elder, shown in the upper surface of that huge disc. I don't even know what that means. It's a crazy way to describe that, but I really liked it. Which I guess means that he's describing the ship as the dying elder of the younger sister,
You're
so that it's like.
looking-
So he's describing.
Oh, yeah,
this is
that
on
also-
172. So he's describing the
tripped me
ship
up,
as
too.
like even older and large. I would assume larger than the moon. I guess it is larger than the moon, perspective-wise, but like.
Side
It
It's-
is even larger at this
Well,
point. It's
the-
closer.
Right.
So the moonlight and the earth is the dying elder, right?
It seems like the huge disc, which is how he describes the ship.
I thought that
Yeah.
the Earth is the dying elder and the sister's the moon.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, I mean that makes sense.
I think that's what he's saying.
the Earth's dying from the sun.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Okay, I think I was just confused because he talks about the younger sister's kiss upon the face, but also I think it's a weird sentence structure.
It's-
So
The
that-
misty light of the moon being the younger sister.
Right. So,
Right.
but so if you break down the
The
sentence,
younger
it would be the
sister's
misty.
kiss upon the face of her dying elder is
The earth.
definitely the earth.
But then he says, but if you take out that middle clause, it's the misty light of the moon shone on the upper surface of that huge disc.
That makes sense.
So you would think that the dependent clause, the younger sister's kiss upon the face of her dying elder, would apply to the light on the disc and not on the earth. This is just my, I don't know. That's my grammar
I think
take.
the sentence makes sense.
I think it could work either way, but that's how I initially read it. Was like
We understand
Yeah.
where you went wrong.
I think
I think I have a strong grammatical argument.
It tripped me up when I first read it, for sure. I had to reread it.
I think that Gene Wolfe is thinking about Close Encounters of the Third Kind. This
Really?
same issue.
I thought about it.
I'd sorry to be the biggest Jack Van Stan in the world, but I think it's really interesting how in that book, which is like mostly comedy, whenever he talks about the sun, it's suddenly intensely sad for one or two sentences. Like he like constantly describes the sun as like trembling like an old man's hand and stuff like that. Like it gets uncharacteristically sad. And then in this book, which is like kind of gloom and doom for the most part, whenever he talks about the moon, we get these like really beautiful calm moments. Like anytime he's talking, you know, like when the green light is reflecting on stuff, it's always like a serene and beautiful.
It's a symbol of sanctuary. They talk about people going and hiding in the forests of Loon and whatnot.
Yeah, I think that's really, I don't know.
Loon's mommy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The nurturing kind of like.
Celine.
That's terrible.
I know.
So he goes up, he knocks on the door.
He tells them he's going to give them a symbol, or a signal rather, to like so that they would attack. But I guess he doesn't set a signal for like if he doesn't want them to attack.
Right.
So he's just like, all right.
No, in the morning they attack.
He's like, either I'm going to drop fire out of the window and you attack then, or you just attack later.
Yeah.
And that's it.
It's
Like,
not clear what attacking even means. I mean, it's like 100 people with like pitchforks.
yeah,
in a
literally.
castle. And they don't know what
It's
they're
a,
up
it's a
against.
very, very gothic
But-
moment.
Yeah.
Frankenstein.
It's funny. Yeah, he's not being a great leader. He's being a confident leader, and they're like goading him on.
And he really likes that. He's
Yeah, he loves
he's like, oh man, it's so awesome how
he
they
gets
just
so
do what I say.
He's like, there's no greater pleasure in the world than having men follow me around. It's
Which is
wonderful.
so wrong.
it's very good. And then he shows up and is like, oh, what's up, Talos? And this is where I think he's actually surprised.
Yeah.
He's like, for a moment, I
it
could
does-
only stare
Right,
at him.
Chapter
Like,
and verse?
173,
Yeah, maybe he didn't. Yeah.
like halfway down. And he also, I mean, he gets caught in a lie.
But he
Also-
does. I mean,
Right, yeah.
Is he just trying to play it cool though? Like, because he's not like, oh my god, Talos, it's you. He's just like, you know, like.
I think he's shocked. I don't think he's smart enough to have figured it out.
He's
And then
so
afterwards,
right.
he's like, I should have figured it out. Yeah, maybe I did.
That's why he says this lie. You know, Master Severian of the Orders of Sick and blah, 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 and then Talos is like, oh, fucking yeah? Is that it? You're here for the autarch, buddy?
Do you indeed?
It's
a great
It's the fucking robot guy.
Yeah, you're right. It does. Yeah, it's hard to tell. It seems this puts a slightly different light on the matter. He says. Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah, so like they didn't know he was coming, and he didn't know it was going to be them.
They didn't know it was him.
No, they knew there was some guy. Like,
Why? You don't think that once they got the claw, that they
But they didn't know yet.
They never.
But you never
saw
showed
the
them
claw.
Unless
claw.
Baldenders knew.
Right?
Didn't the bird send the claw went with the bird?
Yeah, but I don't
Right,
think
but
they
didn't
knew
know
about
that
the claw.
Severian
before.
had the claw before that. Like he never showed it to them.
Baldanders knows. Baldanders knows the whole time.
Does he?
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Does the Baldanders doesn't
Stated.
really care about the claw though?
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
doesn't
because
bel-
the claw's not what's important. Severian is what's important.
Yeah, well,
Right,
you
but
just
also
sees-
Baldwin
he sees
doesn't
the claws.
believe in the
He sees the claws as super. Yeah, it's just like a superstitious symbol. It's like wearing a crucifix or
I
something.
think that he understands that the conciliator carries the claw and the role that the conciliator will play in his life. Like it's not.
Baldanders
Yeah,
is-
I don't think that he's like, ooh, the mystic claw. I think he's like, oh, that's Severian stuff.
See, I think this is the difference between Baldanders and Typhon. I think Baldanders is a full-on, like, committed atheist, and Typhon is the one who's afraid of the conciliator.
Right, but if somebody's wearing a crucifix, you know that they're Christian, whether or not you think it'll kill vampires.
But for so much of the story, and specifically the part where Baldanders is around, Severian keeps the claw hidden.
Yeah.
At like all times,
Right,
and only
yes.
brings it out when he's trying to work a miracle
rare
or when he's pondering.
And
it.
I don't think he takes it out in front of Baldanders.
He's pretty careful to not take it out in
But
front of.
Yeah.
Baldanders is smarter than us and knows that the Conciliator.
That doesn't mean that he knows what's in your pocket. Like,
but he doesn't. He doesn't need to. He doesn't.
Does Baldanders ever say the word conciliator? I don't think he believes in it.
Oh, but he knows what Severian is.
Does he?
Yes.
I think he
Okay.
knows the
Definitely
Severian
does.
is his enemy. I don't think he knows that Severian represents the conciliator and the conciliator's enemy.
I think that from the moment that Severian sleeps with him in that bed, Baldanders knows
Yes.
that Severian is the new son. He
Because
knows what the new
Baldanders
son really
understands what that dream means, and Severian is the one that doesn't understand it.
You don't think that that dream to Baldanders could just mean we're gonna fight?
is. No.
No.
Okay. Carry on.
I agree with Connor.
but that dream's before you got the claw.
I don't have a conviction to this.
It
always
doesn't
has it. The
matter.
claw's inside his heart.
Yeah.
Does he? All right.
Yeah, I guess
And
that's the thing. I'm
Baldanders
with you.
knows.
Is like, is Baldanders believe? Does he believe things like that?
It doesn't matter what he believes.
Sure.
It's what he knows. And
Right.
he knows what Severian is.
Yeah, exactly.
And he knows
It's
what
not
he
about
believes.
for Baldanders. It's not about belief. It's about knowing
He's a
something's
scientist.
existence or whatever.
It's just givens that he can put together.
Right.
It doesn't matter what the underlying truth is.
All right. Well, in
I'm
any
gonna,
case,
I'm gonna put that in the parking lot. I'm gonna keep thinking about it.
In the parking lot.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in the parking lot. You know,
The
I'll go
parking
back
lot.
to it later.
The one that's outside your memory palace?
Yeah, where's that?
Yeah, it's outside. I got the memory palace, and then if I can't put it inside the palace yet, it's out in the lot. And I'll,
You load it up.
I've got a whole memory parking deck.
A deck.
Yeah. So it's just shit I'm not dealing with right now.
That's my life. Yeah. Yeah, I'll get to it later.
This is tough, man. I give up.
Jen did it.
I
I
can't
know.
believe you undid Oliver Gatewalk.
I feel confident now that I've done it once. That
I
can
needed to
read
know
through
for
it
sure
again.
that I'm not anywhere near as smart as Jim.
Oh, you're starting on the wrong pieces.
You're doing it
You
wrong.
don't give him a hint.
I'm helping.
You didn't have a hint.
Sorry, I wanted to help.
I know, but it won't prove anything if he does it with a hint. You did it with no hint.
He was
You
strong-
did it, in fact, in an
strong
atmosphere of complete disbelief.
She'd seen it all put together. Though,
People
and I
told you
So has he.
explicitly. Yeah, I did see it put together. I
He
didn't.
took it apart.
I didn't look though. I should have looked. Anyway,
Difference between me and you.
the book.
The best part of this book is the hieroglyphs here. I mean this section. of it.
Yeah.
They're so fucking good.
That's
It's so cool.
And also, I also was learning, and I remember back to our conversation back when Severian meets what are the Agia and Agilis, and I was confused about the different masks, and I feel like people were holding back on describing like what was going on because I just didn't quite remember like what was going on with the masks, and then that actually gets resolved, which is very satisfying
Masks
when this
and
book
masks.
resolves.
Did we both do the
stuff.
same masks within masks?
That was great because the book, I don't know, it doesn't always like tie up your questions, but
Oh, no.
because that was just a little question from earlier. That doesn't.
Yeah, there's a
that's
list
another
of
thing.
8 questions that are not tied up by this book in there.
Right. Yeah.
This is really. I feel like there's like a whole thing that's going on here that's not what's important to the plot, but that is like so interesting in that the relationship between the lake people, the shore people, Baldanders, and the Hierodules.
Yeah.
And that like the lake people are suffering incredibly because of this chain that's going on, but but they're invisible to the Hierodules. They have like the Hierodules seem to have they just have a whole other thing going on, and whatever is going on between lake people and shore people is off their radar entirely.
Yeah, it is weird.
And yet they are completely responsible for the thing that's happening to the
well, the
lake
Hierodules
people.
are so concerned about the advancement of humanity, but they only see that apparently here through like just giving a little bit of insight to Baldanders.
Well, they're seeing like broad strokes.
Yeah, humanity's not individual people.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
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 Or groups of
Yeah,
people.
and the way that plays out is necessarily in suffering for people who are like down the chain.
Yeah. The suffering is
Yeah.
just kind of whatever.
Yeah,
Kind of part of
And
it.
it's like that's a
Suffering is necessary for advancement.
and yeah, and also it's like it's not it's not malice that starts this chain. You know, like Baldanders is amoral and like Baldanders should have a more of a more of a role in mitigating the suffering of the lake people.
Right.
He's more of like a sinister figure, but he wouldn't be there without the Hierodules, and the Hierodules have no ill will or no like it's not a deficiency on their part that like sets this whole thing in motion. Mm-hmm. You know, like the root of the suffering of the lake people ultimately is not in like evil, which I think is something that Wolfe thinks in general about suffering in society, is that like you can't pin all of, you know, whatever it shall be, homelessness or incarceration or something, on like a person making a deliberately malicious choice.
Wow. Yeah, or that, I mean, Baldanders is just a scientist, and he's advancing shit, but there's negative. There will be suffering.
Yeah, you don't get good things without bad things. And
you don't get bad things without bad things either.
Right. Yeah. I think you know, but advancement on its own is not necessarily the right.
But there's like I don't know, I feel like there's a like sort of a basic assumption that we're given in our upbringing, in our socialization, that like that we could fix society, we could have all the stuff we have now and more, and none of the problems, if we just fixed it. You know, like the problems in our society are like are mistakes. They're not like the results of the way we live. They're like because some people are bad and we have to fix them, or because like some of our ways of doing things are inefficient and we have to fix that. Mm-hmm. Like the fantasy of repairing the broken thing, which sort of is is intoxicated by all of the good stuff and unable to see that there's a relationship between the good and the bad, other than that the bad is a mistake.
Wow, yeah, it's a lot.
But the bad is existence.
The bad is existence?
Yeah. What we like, there is no good thing. There is only bad things, and the bad things are good in that they cause us to move out of the bad thing and on to the next. And like, if you get rid of bad things, then there is nothing.
Okay, I'll agree with that. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of this is because we're being sold things. You can't sell people stuff without this fantasy of heaven. And since people don't believe in God, the fantasy of heaven just moves into like a political utopia that's within our grasp, or a consumer's utopia.
So
you know,
so we want to talk about Severian's like walk up to the room where the hierodules are and all the sort of.
Oh, is that where he sees the catamite?
Is that the person?
That's when he's
glass?
coming down.
Baby,
That's
after
the
that part.
large,
Yeah.
The giant baby.
Do you want to talk about that? But
that's after the hierodules leave.
So when he's going up, he sees like there's is it a woman like under glass?
Oh
who's,
yeah, it's like Pia's sister,
a living experiment or something,
or
a woman who could be Pia's
Yes.
sister.
Yeah.
It's a lake person.
She's been vivisected.
Yeah.
Some mad scientist shit going on here. I love these descriptions of him like walking through the castle in these different rooms on his way up and his way down.
All the weird stuff.
Yeah.
The descriptions of the hierodules are so weird. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like it's the most detail we've gotten about
for sure
any of them, and so just like for the first time, really kind of understanding like it is a being with this mask, but it's not necessarily a convincing portrayal of humanity. Or like the glove that is like made to look like skin but clearly doesn't have a human hand under it. It's like, ugh, so weird.
They want to be coherent, but they do also want to be
scary.
Fucking hideous. That explanation's so cool.
I think that's that. So they're not trying to be. They want to be sort of whatever palatable to the, or maybe not even palatable. Like they want to be scary, but they want to be scary in a way that humans can understand.
Yeah.
And not in a way, because then just being there on their own is like scary in its own way, but they look like beautiful statues,
right?
Or something like that,
right?
I guess that's still kind of a vague thing. You don't really know what they look like, but he describes them as this sort of like cool living like marble.
To me that makes a lot of sense for like as in that they're kind of like angels.
Yeah.
And so they're closer to like the
very
I
archetype.
think it seems to be what he's describing as angels.
Yeah, they're like, and angels are like archetypes.
Wait, do you know anything about their names? Do these names occur in our world?
Oswego, Famolimus.
Well, this is Bone.
Like a
And
word
it's
for bone?
Yeah, because he's a robot,
Osseous.
and they're all named after metals, and Bone's made out of calcium, which is a metal.
Okay.
Famolemius is like I just looked that one up. It's a minor god that protects a boy's fortune with his family. Barbatus, I just think means beard, but I don't remember that right now, and I didn't look it up.
Okay. These aren't like references to angels or anything.
They're all
think so.
well. Barbatus and Famolimus are Latin. Ossipago is os. Is that a Latin root?
Yeah.
Or-
Seems
okay.
like
Ossuary.
Yeah. I couldn't remember what the root was for that. So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of Latin in here.
It
so
seems like
that's
he's
not
describing
necessarily-
angels, though.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and so that makes sense to me that they're like, he would describe their natural being as being like a statue. Because like a statue is like a, you know, an ideal depiction of man, and these things are, you know,
They're from the world beyond of Platonic forms.
yeah, totally.
Right.
The ninth.
The idealized being.
Yeah. It's
Interesting.
nice how all that comes together really quickly right here. Where they explain the scary masks, they explain the statue thing
Yeah.
that we'd seen, like it's just
Yeah.
now we have all this.
Although these must be similar but different than the statues in the House Absolute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
things were bigger and slow.
Yeah. I think those are like technology
are-
from their
Oh yeah.
realm.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't think that those
They weren't living.
Yeah, I don't think those were actual hyrogels.
Right. But I think
Right, but
they
they're
probably
from
brought them
Hyrule.
here.
Right.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
They
certainly
brought those things here.
Hyrogel origin.
Oh, I thought they were just animated because the beauty of the statue was so great.
That's probably how it works up on their octave.
Yeah, maybe.
Octave, I like that.
Actually, that makes a lot of sense. Think about wavelength, and then
Yeah.
it's sort of like constricting. Yeah, that's
It's like my
interesting.
musical translation of when you talk about the turn of the screw. Like to me, that
Sure.
that translates really easily into the octaves.
Hmm.
Like you're the same note up one or down.
Wait, what's your? Do you have a cool interpretation of Turn of the Screw?
I don't
Oh no,
think
not the
it's mine.
story. The idea of a history being like cyclical but moving.
Oh,
down.
Yeah, time is a helix.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
thought we were gonna talk
Not
about
the
Henry
cool
James.
ghost story.
William James. Which brother was that? Willie.
Is it?
Maybe I can't remember.
Come
Which
Come
one?
on, you're
Was,
a master.
which one
Is
was
it?
the essayist and which one was the fiction writer? I can't remember. Do you remember? Henry James or William
I think
James?
it's Henry James.
Henry James does.
They're
fiction.
brothers, so
Yeah, Henry James is fiction. Williams the
Some
philosopher.
of us have the degrees and some of us don't.
I have degrees in both philosophy and English, and I just get them mixed up.
I'm not obligated to know anything.
Exactly.
It's true.
I mean, what's to say? There's aliens.
Cool.
They're fucking aliens. It is cool.
The brain.
I like
Remember all the
how
times
they're
you've seen Prelude?
I like how they're kind of like, maybe we should just let the villagers storm this. They'll probably get some knowledge out of it. They're just like, whatever. Forget you, Baldanders. Although I guess Baldanders kind of pissed him off to begin with. He'd only recently gotten back in their good graces.
Is this where he throws? No, he doesn't throw the claw over yet, right?
Are we in 34 now?
We're on masks. Right?
Yeah, 34.
Yes.
So, is this just where they talk about that?
This is where we get a little bit more about
About Talos.
Talos,
Yeah,
about
okay.
Baldanders.
And then he does go and get the. He goes.
He
and
gets the jewel. Yeah, I think he throws it. He throws it out after they leave.
Hey,
No one's into it. No one's into the claw. I mean, they're a little. The Hyrules are a little bit curious about it.
there's this part that's interesting where Severian
No
says,
one's
"Did the claw?"
into it. I like
who's-
that.
It's right after Baldander
Nobody
says
did
like
this.
the brain is the worst of all, and the best. And he said, "Did the claw help you? If not, perhaps it will. In my hands, it has performed for me a short time what it did for the Pelorines of many years." When Baldander's face showed no sign of comprehension, Dr. Talos said, "He means the gem the fisherman's in is supposed to perform miraculous cures."
Right.
So Baldander's did not know what a claw was.
Either that or you just didn't show that he did.
Because the claw doesn't. If the claw's arbitrary.
Is it? I don't understand.
I feel like
I'm undecided on what.
I feel like this is more evidence that Baldanders did not necessarily expect Severian to show up at this castle.
I think it's evidence that he doesn't think that the claw heals people.
But he's also not even aware of what it is until
Yeah.
Talos tells him that.
Okay.
So the people sent it over to Baldanders just like, hey, look at this.
Yeah, they're like, hey, there's a guy
And he
here
didn't
who
even
has
care.
this thing, and
Yeah,
Baldander's
he's
just
like,
like,
"Look."
yeah, bring him here. That's fine, I guess. I don't know. I maybe it's both.
I'm with you. I don't think Baldanders. I don't think he gives a shit about the claw. I don't think it ever crossed his mind before. And
But the Hyrules do seem interested. They're like, oh, can we see? You know, oh, can I have that?
Right, and then Severian's like, no, it's mine. They're like, how'd you get it? He's like, well, it
Yeah,
just showed up in my bag, and they're
Yeah.
like, well, this just showed up in my hand.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty tight.
Except that they're wrong. It is Severian's.
Well, yeah, but
Right.
but then
But to them,
Oh,
they're
and
just
he
like,
even-
well, we don't know.
And also they know.
in our section, I don't remember if it was before or after where we're at now, but in our section, he actually has, I feel like, he does that thought that you're talking about, where he's like, it is mine, because why would I be, how could I have gone on all these fucking adventures never losing this thing unless I was supposed to take it? Like,
Well, and also these three people have already met future Severian many times.
yeah. So I think
They
that's,
know everything about
I
it.
think that's maybe why the claw is curious to them, is because for the first time they're seeing like this weird foci that like this focus that he had like invested all of this thought in after they leave.
Right.
It's like they've seen him so much more powerful, and now for the first time they're seeing this dude who thinks that his power is in this jewel.
Right.
So it's like it's curious in that way. I'm like, oh, that's this.
they're
you
like,
got
oh,
They've
you
been
thought
watching
this
a
was big
devolution.
Yeah. And like, ooh, that's a interesting twist ending. Like all of your wisdom
Yeah,
is now
totally.
you think it's this fucking glittering gem. Wow, that's
I like that's the
Right.
I like that read.
deal. Yeah.
that's
yeah.
a
Like,
neat-
oh,
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
And
Yeah.
they can't say anything.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
They're just like, oh.
You're gonna change your mind, buddy.
Oh, look how cute he was before he was anything.
So okay, yeah, and so Baldanders is just unimpressed. Are we to conclude that the claw really is not? That it has no significance? Is it just a piece of jewelry?
Well, symbols have significance.
Yeah, symbols are
Right.
significant.
You keep
Yeah.
saying that over and over.
It's vital.
It's not the thing doing the thing.
Yeah.
Right.
It makes it possible for Severian to get to
manifest.
healing. To get to these things. He needs to pin it on something
Kinda
outside of
believe.
himself. He cannot. He could never believe that he himself would contain these things. He has to have something outside to pin it on, and then eventually he's able to like give that thing up.
You can't accept the responsibility of having so much power, so it has to be the responsibility of this claw.
Interesting.
And don't we all need a
Very
claw?
interesting.
Don't we all need a claw?
I think we all need to get rid of our claws.
Don't we all need a claw?
Smash them.
Yeah. Yeah. Smash all the claws.
Well, or give him to a science giant to smash.
Science job.
I think that we need to smash them ourselves, otherwise they're never smashed.
Yeah,
That's what I think.
science giants got no follow through.
I'm just saying he didn't smash his.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, he never accepts responsibility for anything.
Can we go to 35 now? Because I have some notes in that one.
What's up?
The fucking shadow across the oh man, I love it so much. The part where he's like, now that we're towards the end of the sun, like where everyone knows.
Claw. Hello. I was like, where's the cat? All this is talking about claws.
Hello.
Don't smash his claws.
What is his name?
Conrad.
Hello, Conrad.
Oh, what
He
a baby!
was sleeping. I
He's
woke him up.
huge.
Oh my goodness,
He's
what a
so
love bug.
pretty.
Can you see him smiling on the image?
Can you see this cat smile?
Oh yeah, so this business about like we know like a shadow, you know, like sometimes the past casts shadows on the present, but like now we're close to
where are you looking, Ryan?
186.
Okay.
Oh yeah, this is a good part.
Yeah, like the idea that like surely you know that just as the momentous events of the past cast their shadows down the ages, so now when the sun is drawing towards the dark, our own shadows race into the past to trouble mankind's dreams.
Is crucial for this book.
And he's
that's
like,
And what's happening?
after a few chapters of being like mad scientist lab, now he's just coming out and being like, oh yeah, and all the reason all that resonates with you is because of this, and because time works both ways.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know, that's a feeling I feel like I get all the time of like having deja vu and not, and feeling that is connected to something in the future and not something in the past.
Yeah, well, it also ties into the idea that this book has been cast backwards in time as a post-historical text. You know, it's like an underlying idea of this whole thing and how this influences, you know, like the Bible and vice versa. It's like back and forth.
That's something I wish would like bust out into popular culture more. Like the idea that the future can have as much, like, can have repercussions in the past as much as the past can have repercussions.
Progressives can't live that way.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That does pull the whole rug out from underneath the progressive.
Yeah, it's the problem with progressives.
What?
Progressives lived in a straight line. They progress. They live in linear time instead of being able to have circular time, which is inherently. Well,
there's an arc of history and it bends towards justice.
A progressive looks forward, a conservative looks backwards. What a progressive?
No, a conservative looks here.
No, backwards.
Only when they're fucking up. The conservative shouldn't be looking backwards. If the conservative looks right here.
No, they pine for the old ways,
When they're fucking up.
which is always.
Not in prehistoric matrifocal Europe.
I don't know anything about that.
Go on.
No,
Could you tell us more about
In-
that?
in that's a conservative culture that's working well because they don't think, oh, the past is behind me and the future's in front of me. They think all time is right here, happening all the time.
Yeah, but life sucked for most people then.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I do think that there are.
Sorry,
It's spoken like an idiot progressive. Like we have no idea what life was then. I'm sorry, Jen.
I mean, we do know.
I do think that like you can use different lenses to look at different things. I think that like there are certain things when you're like there's certain ways of like looking at. You can use a lens like that for like purposes of your inner life and stuff, but you can't. But like when I'm talking about being progressive, I'm talking about specifically politically.
Yes, and I
And
wasn't
I
trying
think,
to
like-
say you as a progressive.
And I
or
think
that.
I think progressive policy is the only way to like towards some sort of equity.
Totally, which is why I vote for it. Everybody's got a problem.
There's
Sure.
There's a postmodernist philosopher, Richard Rorty, talks a lot about he articulates something called liberal ironism, which is a pretty postmodern idea that I think has some holes in it. But the idea is that you are sort of you are always understanding that your understanding and that your political view or your social view or whatever is contingent upon your own experience, but it's and that there's no like objective truth to a matter, but that it is important to act as if there were in a lot of cases. Otherwise, you can't actually do anything. Like you feel like it's basically he's trying to sort of resolve the problem of like, well, if nothing matters, then why do we try to fix anything? Mm-hmm. He's saying like, well, there's the liberal, and this idea is a more like philosophically liberal idea of like we should always be trying to expand our idea of what counts as the in group, like what counts
In the group?
In group, or like what counts as us. So like, you know, if we're ever expanding our idea of what is us and including those people and taking care of those people, then eventually that's everyone. And that's like the ultimate liberal goal is solidarity among all people.
Assimilation.
To some degree, yes, but it's with the understanding that there may be some solidarity without a compelling, without the obligation to all subscribe to a single belief set. Mm-hmm. So, so that like I think that's the idea of progressivism, is not that you have to like move all of culture in one direction and towards one conclusion, but that if you can act in a practical sense to meet ends that may look like that, but with the understanding that that's not the actual like kind of metaphysical problem that you're solving, then it's a potential way forward as a species to making things better for everyone.
And I think what you're describing is not conservatism, but anarcho-syndicalism. Like, I think that's what you're pining for, not conservatism.
I'm not pining for shit.
Not pining.
You
but
kind
what
of
you're
want to have a
describing-
matrifocal society, etc.
Just because we don't have one now.
Yeah. You know, it's
All things are bad.
Right. I mean, if it wasn't bad, we wouldn't be in we wouldn't have the gender situation we have now. Clearly, that at some point that there was like a revolution, and that surely there was physical things to pin that on. You know, you wouldn't have been able to round up all the idiot dudes if you didn't have like specific things, I think, to rally them around. Mm-hmm. Which I mean, it could have just been exclusion.
Wait, I lost you. Wait.
So you know how right now it's like a patriarchal society.
Yeah. Right. And the way it has always been ever since the days that Connor described.
Oh my God, you are so fucking
wonderful and great.
You are a chauvinist. That is a chauvinist thing to say.
Okay. Yeah, no, it started the other way.
It was said like a chauvinist.
It started the other way. Or, not that it started, but like you go back far enough and you have the flip of the situation. Yeah. And then at some point there's like a revolution that ends up overturning the order, and of course, as all revolutions do, wildly overcompensating for the wrongs they felt inflicted upon them by the female overlords. I would say that the key to all of it was just, no. I won't go. Let's not talk about that. But
wow,
I think I'm lost.
But I will also.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Wait. Well, you were talking about how you loved like the old days in the past, and how like there was.
I never talked about what I love.
That is true.
You were saying that you like back in the old, like I don't know. Like
I also didn't talk about what I like
in Europe. You were describing it as positive, and you were comparing now to then and saying that was better.
No, there's problems in both of them.
Sure. Okay. I agree with that.
And the conservative cyclical time solves problems that happen with progressive linear time, but progressive linear time does the same thing with conservative cyclical time. They solve each other just as they both have caused the problems for themselves.
I'd say also that the idea, like, so I get what you're saying about, like, you have to act as if there's a straight line to be achieved in order to motivate us to make any improvements in society. But I think even that is a little bit too caught up in a linear, like, conception
linear,
of time.
What would it be?
I think that moral philosophy does not necessarily require an understanding of how time works.
Okay, but so
I think that they are functionally separate things, both very interesting and can influence each other. But I don't think that they have to be one system for either to be valid.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. I think
If you can look at different you can look at different areas through different lenses, and it doesn't make one lens invalid.
I guess so. The thing that place I'm going with is not that one's invalid, but that there are times in which you can use a specific lens to like a specific end, and it's not, like you can manipulate which lenses people are using. Like if we live in a society where like voting is an insurmountable problem to corruption, and that like our votes will always translate into like what we have voted for, then then I feel like then all of the stuff about like the utility of assuming that you can make progress in the like generic way that it's usually presented to us, it makes a lot of sense. But it also can be used, I feel like this whole argument about like why we should believe in progress can be it can be used to trick people. Like,
sure, anything can be used to trick people. I mean, I think like
I think
anytime we go into I feel like anytime we go into these types of conversations, you particularly go into this like very kind of like narrow. I don't know. Yeah. It's like, can you just talk to the people in the room and not like some other? I mean, whatever. I don't know.
I guess because the things that,
I mean,
I feel like there's stuff that we don't talk about that like all public discourse is sort of based on, and it's interesting to me to crack under that in opportunities that I have to do that. And this book club is one of the only places where I feel like people who might be at all interested in cracking under the assumptions are around me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just think that I had a specific thing.
I guess I'm not saying it could be used. I'm saying it is used. It is presently used to manipulate people into believing they're more powerful than they are.
Both ends of the spectrum are used that way.
Sure,
I mean, I think
right.
I think
it's just not interesting to criticize the right because it's not sophisticated. Like the way that the right
is. I disagree.
It can be sophisticated.
I think they're both sophisticated, but I also think that ultimately class struggle is a much more interesting topic than left-right struggle for me.
Absolutely.
But I.
Right. Yeah, I attack these things not because I think they're
But I
good, because
think
they think they're an impediment to your goal of making people's life better on a class thing.
I mean, I think that you have to. It's like what we were talking about before. Like you have to look at these things from all of their complexities. Like it's not like economic reform or policing. It's like or community organizing.
Right.
It's like but just because voting isn't inherently in and of itself like an effective tool, period, doesn't mean that it isn't relevant to the conversation. Like voting is not going to solve problems, period, but like it can be used as a part of a greater system with all kinds of moving parts, including what we're doing here, which has like nothing to do with voting. But like I think there's like a lot of like a whole society has to be like all the moving parts have to be addressed.
Yeah. And the reason that they're not so imagine we're doing a puzzle, like a big jigsaw puzzle, and there's like a couple pieces that have, for whatever reason, like inconsistent use of coasters or whatever. There's a few pieces that have stuck to the table.
Yeah.
And there are people that are like, well, if that's there and I can't move it, that must be where it goes in the puzzle. And so you're trying to build the puzzle around this piece that has been arbitrarily stuck to a particular spot that is not reflective of where it is in the thing we're trying to make.
Yes.
And so I guess the reason I'm annoying is because I'm always going, I want to pry up every piece of puzzle that seems to be stuck, Like,
yeah, I want that
That's my
too.
impulse.
I want that
just sometimes you don't realize that you got some stuck pieces too.
Of course I have stuck pieces.
And within the context of the conversation, I know that you realize that,
Right, but I just think that I can, that my particular stuckness and not stuckness can be useful to people who have other things that are stuck.
Yeah, we all do that for everybody
There's
else.
another question, though. It's like when you look at the puzzle and that there's all these different pieces, are you consistently picking up the same pieces and not thinking about why you choose those pieces instead of the other things that you could emphasize to look at more consistently? Like, what is the direction of your critical thought?
I mean,
what is the flavor
the
of your critical thought?
The deliberate thing, the myth that I tell myself is that I am trying to fill voids that I find, which I feel like is a Virgo thing. Like, I'm not interested in like a redundant effort.
Sexy.
It's severe.
That's a very Severian. Just trying to fill voids.
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like when I follow, I'm always around people who are leftists, and I'm always around people who are mostly nerdy and think about
Not
things.
always around them.
And so, in social situations, and so
Right, so you respond to that.
Yeah, so it's like my natural critical whatever personality gravitates towards places where I feel like my critical insight might not be redundant.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I
I
mean,
get that
think
it's annoying.
Right.
I think that most of us probably are like that.
Yeah, I'm just
Like
loud.
gadflies.
Annoying.
It's a Socratic thing.
Annoying,
I mean,
yeah,
that's-
definitely. I feel personally very
being
annoying.
annoying is the core of philosophy.
Oh yeah, for sure. But specifically philosophy.
I'm sure
That's
that
a
I'm
load off my shoulders.
annoying many times a day, consistently to many people.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Not to me.
Oh, great.
I don't.
I know that I've annoyed you.
No, you think you annoy me more than you do.
Aww.
I think that I annoy you.
It's
more
true.
than
You always think that I'm mad at you, and I'm never mad at you.
You are.
And I-
always-
That is a thing about that. See, this is a
This,
thing.
what I'm doing, is annoying.
No, but this isn't even annoying. This is like a kind of a sweet part of it.
chauvinist.
No, you were saying chauvinist things.
I was not
And it's
saying
annoying to be so
chauvinist.
nitpicky.
You were annoyed at what I was saying.
Saying that there's never been a metrofocal culture is
Now
a
you're
specifically
gonna
academic
do it.
chauvinist thing that I have read fucking essays
And
about.
now we're yelling.
Essays. Essays.
Wait, I mean,
Essays-
Tell it to Maria Gambutas and Margaret Murray, buddy.
you can't just name drop some people I haven't heard of.
Yeah, but did you
Yeah,
hear?
seriously.
Did you hear Maria Margaret? You see,
Yeah.
he knows what he's talking about. He read essays by ladies.
That's right. Actually, they were about men.
You guys should know who those ladies are.
Booyah!
I'm sure she's great, but I've
There's
also
two people.
I've also
You meant
heard it
Liz.
described that the past wasn't great for a lot of women by some pretty decent
Yeah, the
sources
past-
as well.
Sure.
The past is a
So-
large place.
Yeah.
It's true. The past isn't a monolith.
We're getting
so.
back to the thing of like, if you go back, like 80 years, there was more trash in the street. If you go back 800 years, people are just swimming in trash.
It's imperative that you think the present's better than the past, otherwise you'll go crazy.
I don't know that it's better than the past.
A medieval serf only worked 10 hours a day. And the rest
No,
of the
no, a week,
time,
a week,
yeah,
a week.
that's right, 10 hours a week. And the rest of the
Yeah.
time, all they had to do was fucking eat.
Yeah, I mean, Roman slaves worked less than like a salary man of our time. Like the
Today
slaves.
is the worst time that has ever been.
It's only like 100.
Unless you're a
some-
woman. I don't know. I feel like
It feels pretty shitty.
it's shitty, but would you have wanted to live even 20 years ago?
Oh,
Or-
I would have been
or
way
40 years
more
ago?
annoying.
Or
40
400 years ago?
I would have
Like,
been the
it's-
most annoying person 40 years ago.
I mean, why are we all
400 years ago, we had no idea what peasants were doing. Which totally destroys what I just said about how much they worked and ate and fucked.
We have
But it's
some
also
ideas.
true.
I mean, we don't have a solid idea, but we have
I
records
think
from 400 years
A
ago.
lot of people
Not of
were
peasants.
dying of
Yeah, 'cause they couldn't read or
diseases.
write.
A lot of people were murdering each other.
These
No,
things are both happening
you're-
right now
life-
in kind of
absolutely.
epidemic proportions.
Also, we
Absolutely,
don't
they're
know,
happening.
even know
Life
that.
expectancy was like, what, they're 35, 40 years?
I mean, who gives a shit about living till you're 80
Yeah,
if
you
your
think
life
those
sucks?
last 40
That's-
years
I
are
agree.
good? They suck.
Yeah, I mean,
Your body's failing.
no,
yeah,
that
the
attitude.
time we are adding to the human life is like morbid time, where you go into the hospital all the fucking time, you know?
I mean, some of
in
that
our-
is
in
like
our
living.
camp.
Living. I wouldn't call 70-year-olds like on their deathbed.
40 through 80 can be decent for a lot of people.
Totally.
The point
can
of
be.
life is death, and trying to stay alive is just procrastination.
So you should kill yourself.
No, because that's a sin itself. You should accept death when it comes.
I mean, the idea of putting it off does seem like you just haven't been making full use of your time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you get a finite amount of time. You should just get the fuck to it instead of trying, procrastinating.
Yeah, exactly. Pencils down.
Interesting.
It's a finite amount of time, but it's not a predefined amount of time.
Sure. I mean,
So,
it's not
like,
pre-known.
Well, I'm considering what you said, Connor. and-
Thank you. I appreciate
Sure,
that.
you're welcome. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not convinced of anything. But
Hold on to that, my
But I'm
friend.
considering.
Yeah, I'm not
yeah.
convinced of anything
I'm
ever.
not convinced.
Yeah.
Except
Except this
Conrad.
guy.
that Conrad is the best kitty cat in the whole world.
I'm not even
Make that
convinced
claim.
of that. I do
Strong
like
case
him
for
though.
that.
Aw.
He
Are
is
you
making a
guys-
good case for himself
Are
right
you
now.
guys sure about that?
Oh, buddy.
Just to be clear, I love every cat in the
This
whole
much?
world. I love every cat in the whole world.
All cats
All
are
of
beautiful.
them.
And the part of that is Conrad's fault.
I only love about 25% of them. A number that I picked arbitrarily.
You must not have toxoplasmosis like the rest of us.
No, I stay away from litter boxes.
Okay.
All right. Do we want to keep talking about this book?
What?
Also, it's 120.
Whoa!
Whoa!
What is happening?
125. I do
Maybe.
need to leave
Yeah.
here. I need to be like out of here by 2 at the latest because I have the next
cut it.
3-hour chunk of my life scheduled with
do you
the
wanna-
next 7.
Do you want to wrap it up for a few minutes?
My
That's fine.
band.
So, like, our next meeting, are we going to talk
Cover
about
band.
like the last 4 chapters and then go into the next book? Is that what we're talking
I
about?
mean, maybe let's definitely talk about the last 4 chapters, and then we could be prepared to talk about.
4 seems to be about what we're doing right now.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. We can be prepared to talk about more than that, but I feel like we're actually only going to get.
I mean,
to
we
the
are
book.
straddling
Well,
books here.
let's just be prepared to go in
Yeah, to the
to the
first.
beginning of the next one.
So should we read the first 8 in Citadel?
How many do we have left in this one?
I think there's 3
I
or
think
4.
there's 4
Alright, we'll
left.
read 8, yeah.
1, 2,
We've kind of
3,
talked through.
3 in
Yeah.
the appendix.
Yeah.
Or we could just hit my points in these last ones and be done with them.
I mean, we do have a little time left.
That's if we're just hitting
I gotta
Ryan's
pee.
points, we're gonna be here until 3 arguing about it.
I actually think that they're pretty easy to. They're not contentious.
Go on.
Well, I guess I don't understand the catamite. I would like someone to explain that to me.
Oh, how it works.
I think
just
I
like
think
what
the
the- what's
Catamite-
the-
I think it's an experiment. Well, Severian mentions that like maybe this is one of his specimens who he kind of like accelerated the growth
Yeah.
all at once as much as possible to
Right.
kind of see what happens.
Why is it? Yeah, I was wondering like why is it given so much time in the book? It's clearly very. Is it? I don't know.
I
Is
think
it just like Severian's obsessed with sex? He's like, what's that? He must fuck that. It's in his bedroom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's possible. I guess it's really. I don't know if we get an answer for that really.
No, we
so
don't. Or is it also like, is it
strange.
important for him to have, is it important for Baldanders to have a little Severian? Because Severian has a little Severian?
It's a little baldy.
Little Baldy, yeah. That was the other thing reading that was like, is it necessary for him to show us Baldander's little Baldy because he's a reflection of Severian?
Just a big baby, but with a bunch of earrings.
Do you know?
Very
Can you
weird.
talk about the catamite and its symbolic importance?
I can't right now. I'm sorry.
I didn't hear it all.
I haven't. I didn't.
sure.
I didn't read that part last night.
Well, you know he's got a big naked baby man
Mm-hmm.
in his
Yeah.
bedroom.
But I only remembered it when you guys brought it up just now.
Yeah.
And the bedroom is just like one big, like.
I mean, do you
Bed.
think he's trying to not only make himself into a new thing, but also make a new, like if he's gonna be the new Erebus, does he not also want to like
Make
start a
other
new
ones.
race?
Or is he just focused on himself?
Well, I'm gonna just put this out and see if the cat laps it up. I don't think that Baldanders is operating from wants. I think he just recognized that this is a thing that happens, and so he's gonna do it.
Yeah, I mean, he does say like they drive me as an ox to slaughter.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, he does seem pretty much resigned to like a fate in this kind of way.
He calls his
Like they're like, I take my orders from, like they're helping me, but basically because
I would
I
say
have
that
this
that
thing
is
I
a
have to
function
do.
of his literalism too. That like the more literal you are, and the more you locate truth in like the surface literal interpretation of things, the more you are possessed by subconscious parts of your personality, and the more you're driven on by parts of you that aren't conscious. Does that make sense?
yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah, like science.
Obviously.
Yeah, like
I mean, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems also like, I mean, Baldander's relationship with his sort of subject, like his, I'll call them subjects, but like his experiments, he calls them his foes. So like he sees himself locked in a kind of combat with these people or former people, I guess. And they would kill him. Like they said, they would kill him if they had the chance.
But I wonder
seems
about
like
the baby, because the baby is like in his bedroom.
Yeah, this is like the only one who's not. I don't know. It's very strange.
Do you think it's possible he's trying to do like a Typhon type thing, and the baby is like his new body
Yeah.
No, maybe.
in case he dies?
I mean, again, I
But that
didn't read
baby-
this part last
The
night.
baby
so I
doesn't seem
can't-
like a very effective body to put yourself in.
No, but
It's
he's
still
growing
growing.
it.
It's
Right.
still growing,
Yeah.
That seems very plausible to me, that the baby's like plan B, or like he's just getting out ahead of a problem.
And so that's
I
why
mean-
that's why he's keeping it kind of like very
Close.
comfortable and.
Yeah. This might be me at some
Possible.
point.
And you're thinking Severian just interprets it as a glorified sex doll.
Well,
just
he
'cause that's
even
just the way
says
they
in
think.
I kinda think
parentheses,
he's like, bad
if-
thing.
he
fucking-
says in parentheses, if catamite he was. Like, that's all Severian's projecting on
Yeah.
that shit.
Yeah.
I think for it's funny too, because he projects for a while.
And
It's
then
like,
he says, I've never been able to believe that Baldanders practiced pederasty as the term is usually understood. Like,
But
'Cause
maybe,
he's too
but
big.
maybe if he made a giant baby, he
Yeah.
could work it out.
The last line of this chapter kind of implies that Baldanders is a Typhonian figure.
I think Baldanders and Typhon are heavily related.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Typhon is the is the Baldanders who doesn't get stopped.
Oh,
Right.
really?
Mm.
I think the Baldanders is the Baldanders that doesn't get stopped.
Yeah, because I mean they end up taking pretty different tacks, I guess.
I mean,
Like,
Typhon takes
fails.
over the world. Though.
Huh?
Typhon does become ruler of the whole
But
world.
that's not
Right,
what
which is
Baldanders
winning.
is after, right?
I guess the Baldanders is just after. I mean,
Baldanders seems to be after immortality.
right? Which I kind of feel like you need power to like keep pursuing a goal that lofty. Like you keep like you're pursuing immortality, and when you hit an obstacle, like the thing you're gonna do is be like, well, I need more power.
But if he was really pursuing power, he wouldn't be like roving around the countryside in a theater troupe.
I think even immortality is a byproduct of his true
It
goal,
does
which is
make me think
understanding.
about that.
Understanding.
But maybe I'm projecting myself onto Baldanders.
No, I,
Truly, Baldanders is an everyman.
Yeah, clear everyman.
no, I can. I feel like I can smell what you're putting down there. That like, and that's part of.
It's a mixed metaphor.
That's part of.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Smell,
enjoyed
that is a
the
mixed
mixing of that
metaphor,
metaphor. That's pretty good.
That's part of why. What's that? That's like a Jonas thing, right?
Yeah, oh yeah,
yeah.
totally.
It's intuitive to think
Wait,
of
Jonas?
Typhon and Baldanders
Jonas
as
the
similar,
robot.
because they're
I
both
know.
giants.
Sailor can't.
I
But
know.
Typhon is so much
Oh,
like,
you think I was talking about Asher?
faster than
No.
Baldanders. Like it seems
Never
like they're
mind.
two different things. Like Baldanders is like struggling with existence, and like Typhon just seems like the opposite of that. Like in charge, like obviously with his shortcomings and blind spots, but it seems like they're two different, like literally two different kind of beings. Like
They're both titans.
yeah, they're both large,
Yeah.
but maybe
Different kinds of
Baldanders is
titans.
approaching it differently, like in a more
Yeah.
kind of.
I mean, I guess I could totally see this like dichotomy, or not really a dichotomy, but the relationship as being like Typhon pursues power, thinking that's going to get him out of here, and Baldanders pursues understanding, thinking that's going to get him out of here,
Yeah.
and that like pursuing understanding leaves you very vulnerable to the goading. Because
Oh man, I want to say things that are going to ruin Long Sun right now.
You can say
you
that.
think you know.
Do it.
There's another Typhon, and that I think is
It's the same. Well, are you talking about the AI?
no. It's yeah, exactly.
Right,
Typhon's downloaded himself onto a computer, and that Typhon is good.
Yeah.
That Typhon's okay.
He's not this guy
Right.
who's
Yeah.
only bad, and that's fascinating to me, and I
Well,
can't wait to explore that.
Is the fucking thing? I don't want to go too into this, but like, is the fucking thing that our Typhon here had to seize the power, and that Typhon there was like put in charge of the whole thing without having to have that ambitious.
Our
like
Typhon
that.
here is a real person who has real person flaws, and that Typhon there is just a
like
painting.
It's like a print
Yeah.
of his
Yeah.
persona.
Oh, I
It's
can't
interesting.
wait. We're so close too. We're really bearing down. We're almost
We're
there.
gonna be there in a hop, skip, and a jump.
Yeah, we just have like two books in one little bit.
Earth will take us forever though, because I feel like we'll have to do.
Earth
like,
is gonna take a long time.
it is gonna take a while.
A year unto itself.
We'll get like a two
These
chapter.
guys before you guys got here were saying we'd be done with the
I
with
meant
the,
the
with the new
tetralogy.
song
I meant
by
the
the end of the
tetralogy
year.
too.
I meant the
And I was like,
tetralogy.
what?
You continue.
And then they
with this
just
line of
keep
thinking.
taking the 5th book just as if it's not.
No, we're just saying it's a
We'll
different
get through. We'll
thing.
get through Citadel before
It's
the
an
year's out. That
island
makes sense.
between.
Yes, but the fifth book.
You
is
get
part
to
of
be
it.
careful. She'll jump
Thank
on
you.
your ass for this.
Right. So we got all
Connor
2020
agrees
to
with me,
tackle
and that's
that.
what matters to me.
I was thinking last night, I was having a hard time reading this book because I was thinking about, like, is the new sun I Claudius and then Earth Claudius the god? Because this is a pastiche of Robert Graves' thing, and then Robert Graves also wrote a sequel to that, and I haven't read. You've read I Claudius. Have you read Claudius the God?
I have not read Claudius God, which is weird because I Claudius is awesome. It's so good.
So yeah,
it's,
I do really need to.
It's really
Yeah, I
funny.
picked up a copy of it recently.
it's funny.
It's funny. Yeah, it's very funny.
Robert Graves is a funny dude.
I mean, he's like in a lot of ways, he's the opposite of Severian because he's such a sympathetic narrator, but he is also a liar. But like, I mean, the origin of his lies is he's pretending to be retarded so he's not murdered by his family. But
as are we all.
What?
What I'm talking about.
So what does your mom think of you, Connor?
What?
What does your mom think of you?
Well, I don't want to say that.
What does she think?
She
Have
and I
you
have
been
a
trick-
lot of fights about it.
Have you been tricking your mom for all this time so that she won't murder you?
Well, I don't want to talk about this on the internet.
That's fair.
All right, we'll turn off the stream. Bye.
And then I get some therapy.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
should I really turn it
Watching.
off? We're done, huh? We ran out of steam, didn't we?
Yeah.
I
we're
think
going to
we
do the
should-
last 4 chapters. Yes, tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
It's Labor Day, right?
Yeah, tomorrow.
I can't do tomorrow, but
Come
that
on, you guys got no fight in ya.
I can't. Yeah.
Whatever.
I like your Lebowski pants.
would be fun.
They look kind of like weed smoking pants to me.
That's
Lebowski
Lebowski pants. Are you kidding?
Oh, okay.
I'm not smoking weed right now, but
Could have fooled me.
that's cool.
Those
But I
pants say
need
otherwise.
because I can't smoke weed. I need to look like I smoke weed.
That's right. Wait, why can't you?
I have a lot of very high singing parts I have to do next weekend.
Oh yeah, all right.
After that,
Yeah,
I
let me know
will.
if you ever
After that, I will.
Is that the
smoke
cover
weed.
band?
Yeah.
Cool.
But I got two of my new songs are a Prince song and a Jackson 5 song, and they're
Oh,
both
damn.
very high.
Ooh, yeah.
Which Jackson
That's a
5
challenge.
song?
I want you back.
Okay.
It's very high.
Which Prince song?
I want to be your lover.
Oh, well, that's in a very high pitch for a Prince song.
I know. I have to go practice those songs with my band right now.
Cool. Okay,
When is our next
Yeah,
meeting?
when's next?
Today is the 1st. The 8th. Next week.
I am out of town next week.
The 15th.
I can do the 15th.
The 15th?
Hold on. I don't think I can do that.
Damn it, Tim.
I know.
I could do the 22nd. I'm pretty flexible.
Oh, yeah.
I'm usually good, but yeah. So
What
I'm.
do you mean you're usually good? You're
I'm-
slashing
I'm-
through them.
I'm out from the 8th to the 15th. So
The
Where are you going,
22nd?
Tim?
Cape Cod.
Oh, nice.
Better be the 22nd then.
Yeah, if it's gonna be a Sunday, I could do like an evening in there. I'd be happy to do like a Wednesday night or something.
Well, the week between the 15th and the 21st, I have to drive. I have to drive straight to Denver and then straight to South Carolina and then back, and that's about 4,000 miles.
So you're saying that you're not going to be able to meet on the 22nd because of that?
No. I can't meet in the middle of that week because I'm going to be driving 4,000 miles in 4 days.
Well, let's just do the 22nd, unless that's an issue for anyone.
22nd's good. It's just so far away.
It'll be here. It'll be here soon.
22nd is a Thursday? No.
No,
That
Sunday.
is a Sunday.
What time? I might not be here.
What? Where are you going?
I gotta go to Pennsylvania that
It would
weekend.
be the same time
You
that
could
we always
easily
do
not
it.
go.
Is it the morning we're talking about on 22nd?
Yes.
Yeah, I won't be here that morning.
God
I mean, we could do it.
damn it.
Well, wait. Why does it have to be morning? When are you going to be here?
Because we are better in the morning. We've all
But we
know,
got to
you
do
know.
it sometimes.
Yeah.
It's caffeinated versus drunk.
Like, what about?
5 p.m.
Oh, I was gonna say
Middle of the day?
Let him
Like
guess.
three?
Let him guess.
3
3.
Oh.
3.
I'm fine with 3.
You'll
Yeah,
be
I
back?
can do that.
Okay.
I mean, I'll
This is the
I'll
20
make sure
seconds
I'm back
now?
by
Okay.
3. That seems realistic.
There we
Okay,
go.
great.
I'm not
3
deep in
o'clock.
I'm
Pennsylvania.
blocking off 3 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Hell yeah.
Ooh.
Holy
Ooh.
That's a lot.
Oh, and we can drink again. Alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good
A
because
different
I'm
kind
going
of
to be gone
chug.
the weekend after that. So
Hell yeah. 3 to 9.
tight. When are we going to go to the Ren Fair?
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
when-
going to send an email about that. We're going to go to the Ren Fair.
Not that weekend?
That weekend.
Ah!
14, 15.
Damn it!
It's Jordan's birthday party, and that's what she's picked.
I know, but it doesn't have to be that weekend.
She specifically requested the weekend before her actual birthday.
That's funny because I specifically told her any other fucking weekend, and I feel like I was one of the first people she mentioned the Ren Fair idea to.
Oh, the
Well,
13th, 14th,
also,
15th,
it's not
you're
your
gonna be in town
birthday.
that weekend.
Wait, 15th? We're talking about that weekend?
Yeah, the weekend 13th,
13, 14,
15.
15.
That's the weekend I can go.
Well,
Well,
good.
then-
Well, then
There you
calm
go.
down.
I thought you were saying immediately before her birthday.
No.
The
The
weekend
weekend
before.
before her birthday.
Oh, Jordan thought of me.
I'm sure that's why.
Are we going to what, the 14th? Or the
I was going to
those
send a
days.
doodle poll.
Oh, okay.
Well, also,
Oh, I'm so happy. I
Okay,
haven't
or
been
is
in
the
like 3
stream
years.
off now?
3 years. No, it's not.
Bye.
we'll see you on the 22nd at 3 p.m.
Ren Fair.
Yeah,
Don't
come
talk
to
to
the
us.
Ren Fair.
Maybe we can.
You guys should
broadcast
have
that.
a little GoPro